Chapter 802. The mission in Siberia was over. The FA organization's training base in Siberia was completely destroyed, and Yamoso was killed. For Charlotte, his goal had been achieved. Not only did he avenge Amanda, Pu Taiyong, and the other two, but he also weakened the strength of the FA organization and the Knights Hospitaller. The current result was actually the best result for him. Annihilation IL-76 swept across the sky of Siberia, flying in the direction of the capital of China. The surviving mercenaries, militants, and killers were not on this plane. They were unwilling to follow Charlotte to China. For them, China was actually a forbidden land. They did not want to work hard to earn money, but have no life to spend it. They would leave Siberia in their own way, and Charlotte was eager to do so. He did not want to have too much contact with those people. This time, if it were not for the fact that Yamoso was in Siberia and he wanted to get information about the holy relic from Arthur, he would never have gone to southern Siberia. Arthur could not have lied to me in that situation. It seems that there really is a set of armor, and he is hiding in the holy palace of the Cross Mountain on the island of Malta. The Knights Hospitaller do not know its secret and have always regarded it as the armor of the horsemen of the apocalypse on the red horse. Now that I know its whereabouts, how can I steal it from the holy palace? Charlotte secretly pondered in his heart, and from the corner of his eyes, he also moved to the women of the Gray family and the Russo family sitting opposite him. To go to Malta, the pass copied from Arthur was obviously not enough. He needed help, and it had to be help that could help him sneak into the holy palace. Who else could it be other than the four women in front of him? The four women stared at Charlotte. No one spoke, and all of them looked very quiet, but only God knew what they were thinking. How can I make these four women really swear loyalty to me and work for me instead of the Knights Hospitaller? Charlotte began to think about new things in his heart. He no longer looked at the four women out of the corner of his eyes. He stared at them. Stella frowned and subconsciously closed her legs, afraid that she would be exposed under her skirt. The four of them changed out of the combat uniforms they had worn in Siberia and into the stewardess uniforms provided by the Russians. This was exactly what she was worried about. Charlotte's eyes were like an eagle's eyes. An eagle could see a rabbit running in the grass from hundreds of meters in the air. How could Charlotte not see the grass under her skirt? Therefore, they had to be on guard. She was well prepared, but she didn't know that the man who was looking at her was counting something in boredom. 1, 2. 58. This one doesn't count. It's forked. 58. Why is it so hard to count? He's comparable to Gu Qin. What are you mumbling about? Stella asked suspiciously. I'm thinking about a question. Charlotte smiled, but didn't say anything. What's the question? Giovanna asked. How much do the Knights Hospitaller pay you every month? Charlotte asked tentatively. We don't have a salary. We fight for our faith, Stella said with a righteous face. You really don't have a salary? Charlotte looked very surprised. The other three women shook their heads together. Then what do you use to buy clothes? Cosmetics? You don't have to worry about that, Stella said angrily. A smirk appeared on Charlotte's face. Well, I'll pretend that you don't need to buy clothes and cosmetics. Other believers will donate them to you. But what about sanitary pads? Believers can't donate sanitary pads to you, right? If there are no donations and you don't have a salary to buy them, how do you solve the problem? The four women's faces turned red. How shameless and obscene would a man have to be to discuss sanitary pads with them? Go to hell. Stella couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to get up and pounce on Charlotte. The other three women grabbed her. How about this? I'll give you a salary of $100,000 a month. You can use it to buy beautiful clothes and the best cosmetics. How about that? You can't come to this world for nothing. You're so beautiful. How can you not experience the best life? Charlotte said. Giovanna said, we have our faith. If you want to buy us with money, that's a big mistake. Charlotte said, you're my knights, and I'm your boss. I'm giving you a salary. What's wrong with that? The four women were silent for a moment. To be honest, a salary of $100,000 a month was simply unthinkable for them. Who didn't love money in this world? It would be a lie to say that they weren't tempted. Nowadays, there were many monks, Taoists, and priests in this world who made money against their conscience. Everything in this world had a price, including faith and loyalty. Seeing that the four women were tempted, Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. He continued to persuade them. You're so young. Don't you want to drive expensive sports cars, drink the best wine, and live in the best sea view house? You can also... Enough. Giovanna didn't wait for Charlotte to finish and interrupted him. We don't want your money, and you can't use your money to buy us. We're different from those mercenaries. You can buy them with money, but we can't. Right? Please don't use your money to insult us, Teresa said. Charlotte cursed in his heart. Damn retard. For him, if it was a problem that could be solved with money, then it wasn't a problem. But if it couldn't be solved with money, then the problem would be troublesome. You swore an oath to me to become my knights. If you don't work for me, then what kind of knights are you? Charlotte said. I can hang your clothes, Teresa said. I can pour you water, Rosa said. I can make you breakfast, Giovanna said. Stella kept her mouth shut and didn't say anything. She didn't seem to be willing to help Charlotte with even a small matter. Charlotte didn't let her go. He smiled and said, Stella, the three of them have found their own jobs, but you haven't. How about I arrange one for you? You can warm my bed. How about that? You. Stella was immediately angry. Charlotte was also angry in his heart. He said in his heart, You knelt down and swore to become my knight, but you're only willing to hang my clothes, pour me water, and make me breakfast. Damn, are you kidding me? Fine, if you want to play, then I'll play with you. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. At this time, the voice of the captain, Ivanov, came from the speakers in the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we've entered China's airspace. The four women exchanged glances. From their expressions, it could be seen that they didn't want to return to China. Charlotte grabbed a communicator hanging on the bulkhead and said in Russian, Mr. Ivanov, thank you for your hard work. Please land at Kyoto International Airport as planned. No problem, Mr. Xia. Next time you need something like this, please take care of me. My crew and I will be at your service at any time, Ivanov said. Hee, of course. Charlotte smiled. Oh, by the way, Mr. Xia, you could turn on your phone. This is a military plane. Your phone's signal can affect the plane's avionics system. Okay, I got it. Charlotte hung the communicator back on the bulkhead. Then he took out his two phones and woke them up. There were several missed calls on the phone used for daily communication, and the missed calls were all from Wei Guani's number. Wei Guani was Peaceful's attending doctor. Because of this, Charlotte couldn't help but call Wei Guani back. Hello, is this Dr. Wei? I'm Charlotte. Oh, hello, Mr. Xia. I called you a few times, but your phone was turned off, Wei Guani said. What is it? Just say it. It's like this. I have good news for you. Charlotte was very anxious. It's Peaceful. Yes, it's Dr. Ning. Wei Guani smiled and said, She suddenly woke up this morning. The kind of waking up that I'm talking about is the kind of waking up that a normal person would have. Without waiting for Wei Guani to finish, Xiaolei interrupted. Could it be that she drew something again? No. She didn't draw anything this time. What I mean is she's cured. Wei Guani laughed. She's cured? This was good news, but the joy in Charlotte's heart was overshadowed by surprise. He couldn't laugh. If Peaceful was really cured, then she would be the first person to recover after coming into contact with the ancient alloy. What did this mean? Yes, she has recovered, Wei Guani's voice said. The nurse was the first to find out. After she woke up, she said she was a little hungry, so she borrowed the nurse's phone. But according to our rules here, she and the team of experts are not allowed to contact the outside world, so the nurse didn't give it to her. Later, the nurse told me the situation. I talked to her, and I found that her thinking was normal. Later, I gave her a test, and all the indicators are normal. What about the other experts? What's the situation? The situation of those experts is still very bad. One of them, even what? According to his physical condition, I estimate that he has at most 1 week left to live. Charlotte was confused. Oh, by the way, Dr. Ning asked me to tell you that she wants to see you. Charlotte looked at the watch on his wrist. I'll be there in 3 hours. Okay, then I won't disturb you anymore. Goodbye, Mr. Xia. Goodbye. Xiaolei hung up the phone and fell into deep thought again. He knew Peaceful's condition very well. Wei Guani had once told him that there was almost no possibility of a cure, Her situation was the same, and so were the other experts who had gone crazy. Why didn't the others get better and even get worse, but she recovered? He didn't know why, but he felt that this matter was very strange. It was a sign, but the feeling was very vague. He couldn't figure it out. Peaceful has recovered. She is a poor woman. When I see her, I have to ask her if she needs any help. If I can help her, I will try my best to help her. He thought to himself. His desire to see Peaceful became more and more urgent. The women from the Gray and Russo families kept staring at Charlotte. Their eyes were full of suspicion. Unfortunately, Chinese was their obstacle. They had no idea who Charlotte was talking to on the phone or what they said. "Mr. Xia, who called?" Giovanna asked in Italian. Charlotte moved his gaze to the four women. "Don't need to tell you who I called?" The four women were speechless. When Charlotte didn't take them seriously, it didn't feel good. Chapter 803. The setting sun was like fire. A Chevrolet Suburban drove into the parking lot of the sanatorium. Charlotte got out of the car, and Wei Guani, who had been waiting next to him, went to greet him. "Mr. Xia, come with me." Wei Guani led Charlotte to the inpatient building. "Dr. Wei, are you sure that Dr. Ning has recovered?" Charlotte asked. Wei Guani said, "Mr. Xia, do you still not believe it? But it is normal that you don't believe it. In fact, even I can't believe it is true. I can only say that it is a miracle. You will understand when you see her." Charlotte's heart was full of questions, but he didn't ask Wei Guani anything else. He would see Peaceful soon. He would know what kind of situation she was in when he saw her. It was already past the time to get off work. Most of the doctors and nurses were off work. The inpatient building was quiet. The sound of footsteps echoed in the corridor. Coupled with the cold light of the energy-saving lamps in the corridor, the environment gave people a creepy feeling. When they arrived at the door of Peaceful's ward, Wei Guani said, "Mr. Xia, you can go in by yourself. I will wait for you in the office. If you have any questions, just press the pager. I will come over." Charlotte nodded, then opened the door of the ward and walked in. Peaceful stood on the balcony, looking at the setting sun in the west. She looked very quiet. She didn't notice that someone was in the room at all. The night wind blew her long hair, making it flutter gently. Charlotte wanted to call her, but seeing that she was so focused, he couldn't bear to break the silence there. He looked at her quietly, waiting for the moment she turned around. It didn't take long. A minute later, Peaceful suddenly turned around. Her eyes fell on Charlotte. Their eyes met. There was no picture of an excited hug like he had imagined. There wasn't even a friendly greeting. It had been so quiet just now, and it was still so quiet now. Facing Peaceful's strangely calm eyes, the creepy feeling in Charlotte's heart became more and more obvious. He couldn't help but think, has she really recovered? There was no sound as they looked at each other. After about 10 seconds, Peaceful suddenly smiled. "Xiaolei, you are here." Her smile was a little unnatural. Charlotte was confused, but he still smiled. "Hi, Peaceful." Peaceful smiled. "Why are you being so polite to me? Are you all right?" Charlotte asked tentatively. Peaceful spun around. "What's wrong with me?" Charlotte couldn't tell what was wrong with her, but she gave him the feeling that she was the real her 10 seconds ago. Now, she seemed to be wearing a layer of disguise that no one could see through, and she wasn't the real her. "Let me leave the hospital," Serenity said. Charlotte came back to his senses. "If you're fine, of course you can leave the hospital." "Of course I'm fine," Peaceful said. She walked toward Charlotte. Her pajama-style hospital gown fluttered in the breeze, and her body looked much thinner. For some reason, Charlotte took a step back. Peaceful stopped walking toward Charlotte. Her eyes were deep. It was like she wanted to see through Charlotte's soul. Charlotte said, "If you need a family member to sign, I don't have the right to sign, but I will call your parents." "Do you need me to call them?" "It's useless," Peaceful said. "They can't help me leave this place, and I have to leave." Charlotte's heart jumped. "What are you going to do?" Peaceful suddenly went silent. She frowned. It was like she had suddenly lost her memory and forgotten something. She was trying to remember. "Peaceful," Charlotte asked, "what are you going to do?" "I don't know." Peaceful suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Charlotte's hand. She hurriedly said, "But I know you have to help me leave this place, and you have to give me $10 million. Charlotte was shocked. They won't let me leave the hospital. They said they need to observe me for a while, but I don't have time. Peaceful grabbed Charlotte's hand. You have to help me leave this place and give me $10 million. $10 million was more than $60 million. That was a large sum of money. It was not something that could be given out easily. Plus, it was obvious that she had not recovered yet. How could he give her so much money? Although Charlotte had money, he would not spend it like that. He shook his head. Calm down. Tell me, what do you want so much money for? Peaceful was silent again. She frowned and looked like she was trying to remember something. Tell me, what do you want so much money for? I don't know. Peaceful shook her head. But I know I have to leave this place. I want to go to India. I need $10 million. To India? Charlotte was shocked. What are you going to India for? I don't know. Peaceful suddenly lost control of her emotions. She shouted at Charlotte. I don't know. Stop asking. Help me leave this place. Give me $10 million. What if I don't want it? Charlotte said. Peaceful let go of Xiaolei's hand. She took a step back. Her eyes were watery, and then two big tears rolled down her cheeks. That's right, Xiaolei said. Don't cry. I just want to understand. Charlotte said apologetically, you know, your identity as a specialist is very special. You are receiving treatment here, and you have a lot of restrictions. To leave the hospital, you have to go through a very complicated process. I'm not your immediate family. Even if I sign some documents, it will be useless. Also, you want $10 million. That is not a small sum. I have to know what you want so much money for. Tell me, what do you want so much money for? I don't know. I don't know. My head hurts, but that voice keeps telling me what to do. If I don't leave this place, I will die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Peaceful held her head and squatted on the ground. She pulled her hair and looked like she was in pain. She was very scared. Charlotte could not keep his cool. He jumped forward and pulled Peaceful up. His hands grabbed her shoulders tightly. He anxiously said, You said you heard a voice. What was that? What did that voice say to you? Leave this place. $10 million. New Delhi, India. Peaceful's voice sounded lost. Did that voice threaten you? Peaceful nodded. She looked very scared. How did it threaten you? What did it say? It said I would die and I would die. Charlotte was shocked. What did you say? What do you mean? Peaceful suddenly pushed Charlotte away and took 2 steps back. It said I would die, and my heart stopped beating. It was like that yesterday. I heard it say I would die, and I fell to the ground. My heart stopped beating. I thought I was dead, but a minute later, my heart started beating again. After that, she suddenly closed her eyes and fell to the ground. Peaceful. Charlotte jumped forward and grabbed her waist. He did not let her fall to the ground. Peaceful opened her eyes again. I want to show you how I die. Han-sun looked at her. Charlotte felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to cry. She was a poor woman. Fate had not let her go. Even now, it was still torturing her. Peaceful laid in Charlotte's arms. Her tears fell again. I don't want to die. I'm afraid of going through that again. Take me away from this place. Give me $10 million, okay? A tear fell from the corner of Charlotte's eye and fell on Peaceful's cheek. No matter how he looked at it, she had not recovered. She had definitely tricked the nurse and Wei Guani. Now, she was the real her. Should he take her away from this semi-military nursing home or give her $10 million? Charlotte's heart was in a mess. He could not make a decision. Who would believe Peaceful in her current state? Putting aside the fact that taking her away from this place was a very troublesome matter, just thinking about how dangerous it would be for her to take $10 million to New Delhi, India, made him very worried. In such a situation, how could he help her with such a favor? However, not only did he have to face this decision that made him feel so conflicted and painful, but he also had to face the voice that Peaceful had mentioned. He could not forget Peaceful's role as a prophet in the last operation in Italy. If it were not for her painting, how could he find the password and clues to enter the underground labyrinth from Da Vinci's Mona Lisa? Just as he was hesitating and feeling so much pain, Peaceful, who was in his arms, suddenly made sound. Her body suddenly softened. Her hands fell, and her head fell to her left shoulder. Peaceful, Peaceful, Charlotte suddenly became nervous. He called her name loudly. Peaceful did not respond. Charlotte put his hand in front of her nose. At that moment, he felt like he had been struck by lightning. She was not breathing. Peaceful, peaceful. Charlotte suddenly panicked. He put Peaceful on the ground and used his hands to support her left chest. He used all his strength to press on her chest. Wake up! Don't scare me. He was also panicking. He had forgotten that he was in the hospital. He only had one thought, and that was to resuscitate her heart. He pressed on her heart and gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but Peaceful did not show any signs of coming back to life. 30 seconds later, Charlotte suddenly came back to his senses. He got up from the ground and rushed to the pager on the bed. He grabbed the pager and shouted, "Peaceful is dying. Someone come and save her. Quick!" There was no response from the pager. "Say something. Be ****. Charlotte roared into the pager. At that moment, he suddenly realized that the line of the pager had been cut. He was shocked. Who would cut the pager? Phew! Cough, cough. The sound of coughing came from behind him. Charlotte quickly turned around, and he was shocked. Peaceful used her hands to support herself and slowly got up. She couldn't stop coughing, and tears kept flowing down her face. The door of the ward was suddenly pushed open. Wei Guani and a nurse appeared at the door. "Mr. Xiao, what happened?" Wei Guani looked at Charlotte, who was holding the pager, with shock. He also looked at Peaceful, who was standing behind Charlotte. Charlotte put down the pager. "Oh, it's nothing. You guys go out. I want to talk to Peaceful." "Really?" Wei Guani asked curiously. "It's nothing. Go, go," Charlotte said. Wei Guani and the nurse left. Peaceful finally got her breath back. She choked and said, "Do you believe me now? I don't want to go through this again. Help me." Charlotte nodded. He took out his phone and dialed a number. "You never call me for anything good. Tell me, what is it?" Qin Xiang's voice was heard. "Help me do something." "Stealing something, right?" "It's not stealing. It's a person," Charlotte said. Chapter 804. Mr. Xia, here's a toast to you. In a high-end Chinese restaurant, Wei Guani held a glass of wine with both hands and toasted Charlotte. Charlotte had a drink with him and then changed the topic. "Dr. Wei, I think Dr. Ning Jing's condition is very recurrent. She hasn't fully recovered. What do you think?" "I actually think so. I gave her a test, and her test results were normal. But I always feel that there's something wrong with her. I can't describe that feeling. In short, I will observe more." Wei Guani said, "I suggest that she continue to be observed and treated. She can't be discharged. She must have asked to be discharged, right?" Charlotte said tentatively. "Yes, she asked to be discharged, but I told her that I couldn't make the decision. You know, her identity is very special. I really can't decide whether she is discharged or not. It's best not to be discharged. After I contacted her, I was very worried about her condition. I think she should continue to receive treatment. I will do my best to treat her." Wei Guani showed a smile. Charlotte gave him a lot of extra salary every month. He didn't want Ning Jing to be discharged. But at this moment, Wei Guani's cell phone rang. "Mr. Xia, I'm sorry, I have to answer the phone." Wei Guani got up and walked to the door of the private room, but he didn't go out. He answered the phone by the door. Charlotte looked at Wei Guani. Wei Guani exclaimed 3 seconds after picking up the phone, "What? Dr. Ning Jing disappeared." Charlotte's mouth showed a smile. "Okay, I'll be right back." Wei Guani hurriedly hung up the phone. He said to Charlotte, "Mr. Xia, I'm really sorry. I just got a call from a nurse who made the rounds. She said that Dr. Ning Jing disappeared. I have to go back and see." Charlotte said in surprise, "Disappeared? What's going on? We haven't been away for long. Wasn't she still fine when we left?" "Yeah, I also find it strange. How could a living person disappear all of a sudden? Do you want me to go with you?" No, I have to go back immediately," Wei Guani said and left. He took Charlotte's money, but this was hidden from the hospital. At this time, if Charlotte went back with him, and both of them reeked of alcohol, it would be bad if the leaders became suspicious. "All right, give me a call if anything happens," Charlotte said. "Of course." Wei Guani opened the door and walked out of the private room. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, 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 ring. Charlotte's phone rang. Charlotte took out his phone and glanced at it before answering the call. You didn't leave anything behind, right? No, you don't trust me? It was Qin Xiang's voice. Where is it? Give me your Baidu location. I'll be right there, Charlotte said. A minute later, a Baidu location map was sent to Charlotte's phone. Charlotte paid the bill and left the restaurant. He drove out of the city and arrived at a small hotel in the suburbs. Qin Xiang, who was waiting at the door, greeted him. I got a room. She's in the room. Come with me. How did you get her out? Charlotte didn't participate. He wanted to know the process. Qin Xiang said as he walked, I got a set of clothes and disguised myself as a nurse. Then I went into her room. I took her out of her room, put her in a plastic bucket of medical waste, and pushed her out of the back door. Didn't anyone ask you? Who would suspect a beauty like me? Qin Xiang said in all seriousness. Charlotte wanted to laugh, but when he thought of Ning Jing, he couldn't. Qin Xiang brought Charlotte to the door of her room. He stopped and said, I bought some clothes for her. She's dirty, so I let her take a shower and change into those clothes. It should be about time now. You go in. I'll keep a lookout for you. Charlotte rolled his eyes at him. Keep a lookout? I'm not doing anything bad. Why are you keeping a lookout? Qin Xiang didn't argue with Charlotte. He opened the door for Charlotte. Charlotte went in. Qin Xiang closed the door. When the door closed, Ning Jing just came out of the bathroom and was drying her wet hair with a bath towel. That bath towel was supposed to be wrapped around her body. It was used to wipe the water on her head. She didn't even have a thread on her body. In that instant, her whole body was seen. She was thin, but the places that should be fleshy were still very fleshy, such as her breasts and her butt. When their eyes met, Ning Jing exclaimed and hurriedly covered the important parts of her body with the bath towel. Charlotte turned around awkwardly and said apologetically, Sorry, I didn't know you were still in the shower. It's okay. Ning Jing's voice sounded very nervous. Charlotte said, I'll go out and wait for you. No, you can just stand there. I'll be done soon, Ning Jing said. There was the rustling sound of clothes being put on behind him. Charlotte couldn't help but think of her body again. She was thin and bony, but her breasts were full. She was weak but sexy, but he didn't have any evil thoughts in his heart. There was only sadness and pity. She was probably the most unfortunate woman he had ever met. Her parents treated her as a commodity and didn't care about her feelings or her happiness. It wasn't easy for her to muster the courage to walk out of her parents' control and live independently. But she went crazy because of the Alloy X project. Now, such a strange thing happened to her. How could he not pity her? I'm done. A few minutes later, Ning Jing's voice came from behind. Charlotte turned around. Ning Jing was wearing the clothes Qin Xiang bought for her. It was a pair of light blue skinny jeans and a white sweater. It was a very casual style. On her feet was a pair of red New Balance sneakers, which added a youthful vibe to her. Ning Jing smiled a little shyly. Is this okay? Charlotte smiled. Yes, you look good in this. Ning Jing didn't say anything again. She looked at Charlotte with longing eyes. For some reason, Charlotte suddenly felt that she was the real Ning Jing at this moment. It was the Ning Jing that he was familiar with. He couldn't help but have a question in his heart. Was she really okay? They looked at each other without making a sound. In the end, it was Charlotte who felt a little uncomfortable under her stare. He smiled. Why are you looking at me like that? I don't know. Ning Jing shook her head. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm so happy to see you suddenly. Charlotte wanted to say, didn't we just meet in the evening? But when he saw the pure smile on her face, he couldn't bear to say it. He just stood there and let her look at him. Thank you. Ning Jing's voice was soft and very gentle. Thank me for what? Charlotte said. You got me out. I hate that place. I feel like I'm going crazy staying there. Hearing her say crazy, Charlotte's heart was filled with sadness. Give me the money. $10 million. I want to go to India. Ning Jing's voice was suddenly not gentle. Her eyes also changed. You? Give me, I don't want to hear that voice. Ning Jing was very anxious and nervous. Did you hear that voice again? Charlotte grabbed her hand. What did it say to you? Ning Jing shook off Charlotte's hand and suddenly lifted her sweater. Her chest was exposed. She said, give me the money and you can do anything to me. Do you want to do it? I'll give you everything. Charlotte's heart felt like it had been pricked by a needle. It hurt faintly. Ning Jing reached out to unbuckle the belt on her jeans. She looked very anxious. Charlotte hurried forward and grabbed her hand. I'll give it to you. $10 million. I'll give it to you. Don't be like this. Really? Ning Jing stopped taking off her pants and smiled. Thank you, thank you. You're a good person. Charlotte took out his wallet and took out a black credit card. He handed it to Ning Jing. Although this card is issued by a domestic bank, its withdrawal limit is $10 million. The spending limit is $20 million. You can withdraw it from their New Delhi branch. I'll call them and let them prepare beforehand. Ning Jing grabbed the card in her hand, afraid that Charlotte would take it back. Charlotte took out a stack of dollars from his wallet. This money is enough for you to spend on the road. If you need anything else, tell me now. It's okay. Just give me the money. I'm leaving, but I'll be back. Ning Jing left without another word. Charlotte didn't say anything and watched her leave. Ning Jing looked back at Charlotte, then opened the door and walked out of the room. Miss Ning, where are you going? Qin Xiang asked. Ning Jing didn't even say a word to Qin Xiang. She lowered her head and walked quickly. Qin Xiang shrugged and poked her head in from the door. That's it. Charlotte didn't talk to her. He took out the satellite phone and dialed a number. Then he said into the satellite phone, She has left. Act according to our plan. Got it, boss. Engumi Khan's voice came. Watch her. Don't let anything happen to her. Charlotte reminded him. Don't worry. India is my hometown. I'll take good care of her. Tell me immediately if there's anything. Got it. I saw her. I'm hanging up. Engumi Khan hung up the phone. Charlotte put away the satellite phone and walked to the window to open the curtains. From his angle, he could see Ning Jing walking out of the small hotel. She stood by the roadside and looked anxiously in the direction of the intersection. The night wind blew her hair and it fluttered. It was full of a quiet and refreshing smell. Such a person like her could not be associated with those strange things at all. Why did she go to India? Why did she want so much money? These two questions lingered in Charlotte's mind. A taxi stopped in front of Ning Jing. She opened the door and got in. The taxi drove in the direction of the city. Then, a motorcycle came from the direction of the intersection. The helmeted rider on the motorcycle waved at Charlotte, who was standing at the window. Then he stepped on the accelerator and sped in the direction of the taxi. Charlotte retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Xiang behind him. Sometimes, I don't tell you the truth because I want to protect you. I hope you can understand. Qin Xiang laughed. It's okay. I can see that you're a person who does big things. I can understand. There are some things that you don't need to tell me the truth. I can do whatever you want me to do. Charlotte patted her shoulder. Let's go. Let's go back. What about this room? If you like it, you can stay here for the night. I'll go back first, Charlotte said. Qin Xiang rolled her eyes at Charlotte. What a waste. Chapter 805. The sun rose from the east, shining brightly. Charlotte stood in front of the office window, looking at the rising sun, thinking about many things. The development of the Rema Army factory, the research of new materials, the possible retaliation of the FA organization, the abnormal hibernation of the Hattori family, and the X-secret gold project. These things were like a whirlpool, and he was the one struggling in the whirlpool who could be swallowed at any time. The workers came out of the dormitory one after another and walked to the workshop. The scavenger IFV had begun mass production. Not only here, but the entire Rema Group staff were busy. Before the first order arrived, they had to prepare a batch of stock. Sylvia and Anina walked in from the factory gate. They didn't come to the office building, but went directly to the tank workshop. The technology of the scavenger IFV had matured and entered the mass production stage, so they let go and focused their work on the first tank of Rema Group. At the same time, the rocket launch system was also planned. If Rema Group wanted to challenge Rainmetal and even Lockheed Martin Corporation, a complete product structure was essential. When passing by the office building, Sylvia and Anina looked up at Charlotte's office, but because of the angle, they didn't see Charlotte standing by the window. The two German women didn't stop and continued to walk to the tank workshop. Charlotte watched the two German workaholics leave and thought to himself, they're working so hard. I have to work harder too. I have to find a way to integrate artificial intelligence technology into the production system of Rema Group as soon as possible. A few more people walked in from the factory gate. 4 women entered his sight. 2 of them had the same face, and 2 of them had the same face. Seeing these 4 faces, Charlotte couldn't help but frown. What are they doing here? Have they already contacted the headquarters of the Knights Hospitaller? The woman from the Gray family was wearing the same black OL clothes. She was curvy, tall, and had long legs. Coupled with her blonde hair and blue eyes, she was full of sexiness. The woman from the Russo family was wearing the same white OL clothes. Her figure was full and tight, and her curves were alluring. Her long legs moved, and her voluptuous buttocks shook and twisted. She was also very sexy. The 4 women walked over in unison. They were gorgeously dressed and formed an eye-catching and beautiful scenery. Many employees of the Thunder Horse military factory were peeking at them, and there were even lechers whistling at them. However, the 4 women didn't even look at him. A change in style? What's going on? Charlotte couldn't help but smile bitterly. He had spent $3 million to save these 4 women, but they had not appreciated it. He was still very upset about this. Chairman Xia, I made you a cup of oolong tea, Qin Kaiwe said. Well, thank you. Charlotte turned back to look at Qin Kaiwe. He seemed to have thought of something and added, Go make 4 more cups. Yes, use the cheapest tea leaves. Is it those 4 annoying fellows again? Qin Kaiwe said. Charlotte smiled. It's them. Go. Just as Qin Kaiwe finished making the 4 cups of tea, the women from the Gray and Russo families arrived. Charlotte let Qin Kaiwe go to the workshop to take a look. After sending Qin Kaiwe away, he said, Good morning, the 4 of you. I've already asked my secretary to make you 4 cups of the best tea. We're not here to drink tea, Giovanna said. Charlotte spread his hands. All right then, what can I do for you? Giovanna opened the computer bag in her hand and took out a new MacBook from it. Then she lifted the screen. Rosa followed him to the door and closed it. Only then did Giovanna wake up the screen. A video interface appeared on the screen. In the video, a bald old man was sitting at an office desk, staring at the camera. Behind him was a wall with 4 oil paintings hanging on it. They were actually the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse from the Bible. The horseman riding a red horse symbolized war and destruction. He was wearing a set of silver armor and holding a huge sword in his hand. He looked very dignified. Charlotte's gaze locked onto the horseman riding the red horse. The silver armor on his body attracted his attention. It was a medieval-style armor. It had a helmet, shoulder armor, chest armor, abdomen armor, hip armor, leg armor, and combat boots. It covered him from head to toe. There was a mask on the helmet that looked like a welder's protective cover. Once it was lowered, the horseman on the red horse would become a true armored horseman. Looking at the armor of the other 3 horsemen, the other 3 horsemen's armor was not like this. They were cloth and leather, and although they looked very impressive, the style was clearly much more casual, and there seemed to be more elements of imagination. This discovery made Charlotte's thoughts suddenly become active. He thought to himself, 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, 3 of them have very casual armor. It's obvious that the artist drew it out of thin air. Only the horseman riding the red horse has a full body armor, and its structure is complicated and unique. Could it have been drawn by the artist based on the real thing? If so, is this the armor I'm going to steal from the Knights Hospitaller? He had yet to enter the Holy Palace, but he had unexpectedly seen the armor. This was undoubtedly an unexpected gain. Ahem. The old man in the video cleared his throat and said, Hello, Mr. Summer. This is the first time we've met. I'm Archbishop Walton of the Knights Hospitaller. So it's your excellency. It's an honor to have this video call with you. Charlotte appeared very polite, but he thought to himself, the main character, Angelio, didn't show up, but he sent a spiritual leader with no real power to talk to me. If they still think that I haven't figured out the power structure of the Knights Hospitaller yet, then they're underestimating me too much, aren't they? Behind Charlotte, the women of the Gray family and the Russo family bowed to the Walton. The Walton just nodded slightly and then said, Mr. Summer, are you satisfied with the operation in Siberia? Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, Although I got the result I wanted, I'm actually not very satisfied. Huh? Why? I paid you $50 million and a lot of weapons and equipment, but in the end, I still had to make a trip myself. 6 of my men died, and even I almost died in the battle with Yamosa. Do you think I'm satisfied? Haha. I think you should be satisfied, the Walton said. No matter what the process is, we only care about the result now. Charlotte said lightly. I paid you so much not just to kill Yamosa, but also to provide me with information about the location of the FA organization's headquarters and the destruction of the FA organization's headquarters. Mr. Summer, that's not an easy thing to do. You've experienced it yourself. It's already so difficult to destroy a training base of the FA organization. It's too difficult to destroy the FA organization's headquarters. Do you think you can? Charlotte interrupted the Walton. I don't care about the process. I only care about the result. Didn't you just tell me the same thing? The Walton frowned. He obviously didn't like Charlotte using his words to shut him up, but he couldn't find a reason to refute Charlotte. $50 million, plus so many advanced weapons made by the Rema Group. Such conditions were enough to tempt many mercenaries and armed groups. Mr. Walton, if you don't want to pay the price or transfer the loss to me, then it will be very difficult for you to achieve your goal. We have a prior agreement, and that agreement will not be changed. After a pause, Charlotte said, You're not trying to persuade me to change the content of the agreement by having this video call with me, are you? The Walton originally had such an idea, but seeing Charlotte's strong reaction, he dispelled the idea and changed his words. No, Mr. Summer, I'm having this video call with you to tell you 2 things. Please go ahead. The first thing is that Arthur's life and death are unknown. We've decided to let Giovanna take over his position and act as the liaison between you and us. They will stay in China. Please take good care of them. No problem. Xiaolei turned around and glanced at the 4 women. The 4 women held their heads high and pretended not to look at him. The other thing is that we've destroyed the FA organization's training base, but we haven't found the headquarters yet. Our intelligence system is already dealing with this matter. Once we have a result, we will inform you through Giovanna. We estimate that it will take a month or even longer. I hope you don't worry and keep our relic safe for us. Don't do any experiments with it. I won't. Charlotte suddenly thought of the last experiment where he cut off a small piece of silver metal. He suddenly had a little more worry in his heart. Would the small piece he cut off affect the performance of the protective suit? That's it then. Goodbye, Mr. Summer. Goodbye, Mr. Walton. The Walton disappeared into the window interface, and Giovanna moved over and closed the MacBook. She said to Charlotte, Mr. Summer, do you understand now? Charlotte smiled. I understand. The first purpose of your Archbishop's video call with me was to persuade me to make some kind of concession, but I'm obviously not that easy to persuade, so he didn't say anything. The second purpose was to tell me that you've been promoted, replaced Arthur's position, and become the Grand Knight. I don't know how much power you have, but you look very happy. Another purpose is to remind me not to touch your relic. And you're the Watchers of the Night's Hospitaller left by my side. Am I right? Giovanna was stunned on the spot. She didn't expect Charlotte to see through the matter so thoroughly. Then she avoided Charlotte's gaze. Charlotte said indifferently, I also have something to talk to you about. What is it? Giovanna said. Charlotte said, In Siberia, those mercenaries and armed men obviously wanted to kill you, and they raped you first before killing you. I was the one who paid $3 million to save you. My condition was for you to be my knights, but now it seems that you're obviously not my knights. So, when are you going to pay me back? The 4 women looked at each other. I remember now. My clothes are still in your washing machine. I have to go back and get them. Giovanna picked up the MacBook and turned to leave. I'm going back to dry the clothes too, Rosa said. Although she didn't say that she was going to dry the clothes, she left faster than Giovanna and Rosa. After the 4 women left, Charlotte took out the satellite phone. Where is she now? She just arrived in New Delhi. She's not familiar with the environment and is a little nervous. It was Angimi Khan's voice. Keep a close eye on her. Don't lose her. Boss, don't worry. This is my territory. I've already asked my men to participate. I won't lose her. That's good. Keep in touch. She got into a taxi. The driver is my man. I have to follow her. Angyumi Khan hung up. Where was she going? Charlotte couldn't help but think about this question. Chapter 806. An hour later, Charlotte received a call from Angyumi Khan. She went into a bank, Angyumi Khan said. A man came into contact with her. A man? Charlotte was curious. What kind of man? He's around 50 years old. He has very little hair, and he wears glasses. I think he's a university professor or a researcher. You know, that kind of person is a bit crazy. Charlotte's heart jumped. Do you think his mental state is similar? Yes, that's the feeling. He's a bit crazy, Angyumi Khan said. Now, Charlotte was not only curious, but he also had some suspicions. Did the old man have a voice in his head? They went into the VIP room. I can't follow them. Just watch from outside, Charlotte said. Wait for her to come out and then call me. Ngu hung up the phone in cold sweat. Peaceful had gone to withdraw money, but it was more likely that she had transferred it. After all, $10 million was too much. If she took the cash, it would probably fill a few boxes. If she transferred it, whose account would she transfer it to? Charlotte was very worried. He was worried that his $10 million would be scammed. He was also worried about Peaceful's situation. She was so timid. A woman carrying so much money to a country like India. What if the old man was a bad person? He started to regret not following her. If he was in the bank, he would have been able to see what was happening in the VIP room. He would have been able to get more information. Although Angyumi Khan was in the bank, he could not enter the VIP room. After waiting anxiously for half an hour, Ngumihin called again. Boss, she left the bank with the old man, Angyumi Khan asked. Do you want me to capture the old man and interrogate him? Charlotte thought about it. You continue to follow her and the old man. If they split up, send someone to follow the old man. I want to know who he is and what he does. Okay, I am following them. They got into a car. It seemed to be the old man's car. Follow them, said Charlotte. If there's anything new, I'll call you again. Angyumi Khan hung up the phone again. What followed next was waiting. Charlotte pondered over his artificial intelligence plan, but he couldn't calm down at all. His mind was filled with the image of tranquility, the picture she had drawn, and the words she had said. There was no way he could do scientific research in this state, but it was this state that gave him an idea. I can't do everything by myself. The Rema Group is getting bigger and bigger, and there are more and more employees. There's also more research and design work. If I take on everything, I won't be able to finish it even if I die of exhaustion. Looks like it's time to look for high-end talents from the talent market. This idea grew stronger and stronger. Not long after, Charlotte called Qin Kai-wei in. Chairman Xia, is there anything you need me to do? Qin Kai-wei had a charming smile on her face. In France, her plan to seduce her boss almost succeeded, but it only blossomed and did not bear fruit. Ever since her return from France, her little mind had slowly reared its head again. This could be seen from her clothes. The weather in the north was already cold, but she was still wearing a very cool summer office lady uniform. The skirt was so short that it could only cover her perky buttocks, and even the elastic of the suspender stockings could be seen. 3 of the buttons on the collar of the shirt were undone, and the huge, snow-white chest stretched the shirt open. Not only was a pair of snow-white legs exposed, but at least 2/3 of a deep ravine carved out of white jade was also exposed. When a boss faced such a secretary, if he had a slightly weaker willpower, he would have already taken her to the lounge to have sex. How could he allow a seductress like her to wander around in front of him? Although Charlotte's control in this aspect wasn't very strong, he had a lot of female friends. He couldn't eat all of them, or else he would have already eaten this seductress. Kaiwa, which talent company did you come from? Charlotte's eyes were fixed on her ravine, but his mouth was asking a serious question. Qin Kaiwa was slightly nervous. Chairman Xia, why are you asking this? Charlotte said, if you're familiar with that company, you can contact them on behalf of our company. I want them to dig some high-end talents for us. Qin Kaiwa let out a sigh of relief, and a sweet smile appeared on her face. So that's it. That company is called Floor Talent Company. I have met their boss, Ms. Wu, a few times. I have her phone number, so I can contact her. However, Chairman Xia, what kind of talents do you want to hire? Artificial intelligence. After a pause, he said, mainly talents in the field of artificial intelligence. In addition, let them help us dig some electrical engineers, mechanics, and software engineers. In short, you are familiar with our situation, and you know what kind of talents we need. Let their company dig these people for us. Right now, there is no talent in the talent market that our Rema group can't find. Chairman Xia, you're also a banner to attract talents. I was attracted by your banner. Qin Kaiwa said. Your little mouth is still so good at talking. Charlotte smiled. Go. The sooner the better. I'll leave it to you. Okay, then I'll contact Ms. Wu right away. Qin Kaiwa turned to leave, but she only took one step when a folder in her hand fell to the ground. She hurriedly bent down to pick up the drop file. As she bent down, the super short OL uniform skirt moved up against her pert buttocks. Not only did it reveal half of her plump big white mound, but it also revealed a bright red lace between the big white mound. It looked very petite and weak, giving people a feeling that it would collapse or melt at any time. Charlotte's throat suddenly became dry. He had to swallow a mouthful of saliva to lubricate his throat, which made him feel better. However, what made him depressed was that the Qing family's vixen bent down to pick up the files on the ground. There were only a few files in the folder, and she didn't finish picking them up even after 30 seconds. Her big white mound was dangling in front of his eyelids, very mischievous. What was more excessive was that the red lace was also slightly moving, tightening, and deflecting. It was like the god of racing on Mount Akina, racing on the rugged valley road. It made people's blood boil, but it could overturn at any time. Okay. Charlotte coughed awkwardly. Qin Kaiwa then picked up the last file, straightened her small waist, and looked back at Charlotte. Her eyes were watery, as if she was sending some kind of signal. Charlotte pretended not to see it, and lowered his head to flip through Sylvia's drawing on the table. Qin Kaiwa left in disappointment. Do. Charlotte picked up the phone. Boss, I'm at the entrance of a biotech company. She and that old man just went in. It was Engumi Khan's voice. Biotech company? Charlotte was greatly surprised. Yes, I'm also very surprised, but this is indeed a biotech company. This company's name is Strong Biotech Company, and it looks very big. Can you go in? There are guards at the entrance, and there must be a lot of surveillance cameras inside the building. I need time and professional helpers. Engumi Khan said. Charlotte frowned slightly. Engumi Khan was a sharpshooter in the Zodiac team, but he wasn't a hacker like Amanda, who could easily hack into the surveillance system of Strong Biotech Company. Engumi was sweating profusely. It was a difficult task to go in and not be discovered by anyone. Temporarily monitor all the exits of that company. I'll be right there. Charlotte said. You want to come personally? Engumi Khan looked very surprised. It's very dangerous. You're not the same as him. No one would do anything to Serenity, but once Charlotte appeared in India, he would need to attack the CIA, the Belly family, the FA organization, and even the Knights Hospitaller. These opponents, each stronger than the last, were not easy to deal with. Boss, don't worry. Although the situation is troublesome, I can handle it. Engumi Khan's voice. India is very corrupt, and I think the security personnel of this company are no exception. I'll spend some money to try, and if it doesn't work, then I'll wait until nighttime to climb in. Then go and try. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. Charlotte temporarily resisted the urge to immediately fly to India. Okay, wait for my good news. Engumi Khan hung up the phone. Xia Lei paced back and forth in his office with the satellite phone in his hand. His brain was spinning rapidly as he analyzed all the information he had so far. Serenity had obviously never been to India, and it was even more impossible for her to know the bald old man in India. But as soon as she arrived in India, the first person she saw was someone she had never seen before and didn't even know. What was going on? Who did she give the $10 million she took away to? What did she buy with the money? What kind of company was Strong Biotech? A lot of questions filled his brain, making it impossible for him to calm down. When he thought of the last question, he suddenly remembered something. He quickly walked to his desk, woke up his work computer, and then entered India Strong Biotech into the Baidu search engine and hit the enter key. A lot of search content about India's strong biotech suddenly popped up on the webpage. It was a company that combined biological research and biopharmaceuticals, and it also had medical equipment. It had a certain market share in the biopharmaceuticals field in India, with assets of about 50 billion Indian rupees. If converted to Chinese currency, it would be 5 billion Chinese currency. Although a company with a market value of 5 billion could not compare to the current Rema Group, how many Rema Group were there in the world? In India, a company with a market value of 5 billion was considered a big company. Strong Biotech produced many types of drugs, but they were all ordinary drugs used in the medical field. The Baidu search engine also provided pictures of the headquarters of Strong Biotech. It was a modern 30-story office building, and it looked like it had been built not long ago. After looking at the pictures of Strong Biotech, a special search content caught Charlotte's attention. The boss of Strong Biotech was a man named Nahar. He had been a biological scientist in his early years, and he had published a paper on the connection between theology and biotechnology. However, the content was so absurd that it became a joke at the time. Later, he succeeded in his business, and he became one of the richest people in India. After he had money, he set up a laboratory and used money to bribe girls and boys from lower-class families to do some secret experiments. Later, he was investigated, but nothing came of it. There was also a photo in the search content. The photo was of a bald old man with a strange look in his eyes, and he looked a little neurotic. There was also a name under the photo. It was Nahar. Charlotte suddenly froze. Wasn't this the old man described by Angumi Khan? Chapter 807. A day passed just like that. Xiaolei spent most of the day anxiously waiting for something to happen. Angumi Khan had bribed the security guards of Qiangli Biotech to enter the building. However, he could only enter the low-security area. Even the security guards were not allowed to enter the high-security area, let alone the person who had bribed the security guards. Angumi Khan sent back a few photos that he had taken secretly. From those photos, Charlotte saw a lot of surveillance cameras and security guards who were not in uniform guarding the high-security area. Judging from the photos Angumi Khan sent back, Qiangli Biotech was not just a simple biopharmaceutical company. It must be hiding some secrets. Otherwise, its security level would not be so high. At night, Charlotte did not go back. He stayed in the office and waited for Angumi Khan's action. If only Amanda was still alive. While waiting anxiously, Charlotte could not help but think of Amanda. She was a hacker of the Zodiac team. She only needed a computer and a network cable to pry into the internal secrets of Qiangli Biotech. If she was dead, the Zodiac team would be missing such a talent, so they were at their wits' end. He thought of Liang Xiao and Long Bing. Liang Xiao and Long Bing both had professional hackers working under them. They were all agents of 101 innings. It was not a good idea to use people from 101 innings to support Angumi Khan's action. Do. The satellite phone on the desk suddenly rang. Charlotte's thoughts were interrupted. He grabbed the satellite phone on the desk and asked anxiously, "What's the situation?" Angumi Khan's voice came from the satellite phone. "I climbed up the outer wall of the building. I'm currently on the 30th floor." There was also the sound of wind blowing in his voice. Charlotte was shocked. "You climbed up the 30th floor with your bare hands?" "If I could choose, I'd rather take the elevator," Angumi Khan said. He actually had such a dry sense of humor. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Be careful. This company is not normal. The security level is very high. If we encounter any danger, give up immediately and we'll think of another way." "Don't worry, boss. I've asked around. This company is indeed abnormal, but it's not as powerful as you think. Those security guards are just hired from a security company. I can handle them." Angumi Khan's voice was heard. "Just someone hired from a security company? There are also some retired soldiers, but they aren't a threat." "Okay, I'm going in now. I'll contact you later." Angumi Khan hung up. What followed next was waiting. 10 minutes later, Angumi Khan called. "I knocked out 2 security guards on the 30th floor. I've entered their core area," Angumi Khan said. "Be careful of their surveillance," Charlotte reminded. I knocked out those 2 security guards in the surveillance room. I'm in their surveillance room now. Wait, what did you find? Charlotte was very anxious. I saw the woman you told me to follow. Wait a moment. I'll take a picture for you. Take a look. Charlotte's satellite phone quickly received a few pictures. When he saw them, he was shocked. They were pictures taken from a surveillance monitor. They looked a bit awkward, but he could now see the content of the pictures clearly. It was a lab. There were a few workers in antibacterial suits. Peaceful had already changed into a pure, white antibacterial suit. She stood in front of a metal bed like she was waiting for something. Engumi Khan also took a picture of the bald, old man, Nahar. In front of him was a giant glass container. The container was filled with a blood-red liquid. There were many wires and tubes that transported the liquid into the glass container. One could vaguely see a person inside the glass container. It looked like a woman. She was soaking in the blood-red liquid, and her skin was pale. But one could not see her face. The last 2 pictures were pictures of 2 female bodies. One was a blonde Western woman. She was tall and well-proportioned. Her muscles were very beautiful. She had probably been a person who loved sports when she was alive. From her appearance, she was very young. She was around 25 years old. The other body was an Asian woman. She was petite and had delicate features. However, it would be a big mistake to think that she was a weak girl just based on these characteristics, because the lines of her muscles were rougher than most men's and full of strength. She was also very young. She could not have been more than 25 years old. She had a delicate face and explosive muscles. She was a King Kong Barbie in every sense of the word. Western women who loved sports and were probably professional athletes. Eastern women who were muscular and had professional strength training or even combat training had died so young. Looking at their bodies, Charlotte was very curious. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity. After all, they were 2 young and beautiful women. After looking at the pictures, a huge question popped up in Xiaolei's mind. There were 2 female corpses in a huge glass container, and one of them was Serene. What was the connection between them? He was sure that there was a connection between them. Otherwise, Peaceful would not have come here from China. Boss, did you see that? It was Engumi Khan's voice. Charlotte came back to his senses. I saw it, but I don't know what kind of experiment this company's lab is doing. How much longer can you stay there? I think I can stay here for another 10 minutes, Engumi Khan said. I don't know what to do now. I'm not far from the lab, but there are people there. If I go in, I will definitely be discovered. I could take down the people in the lab and take Peaceful away if you want me to do that. Should he take her away? Charlotte hesitated. With Angamian's strength, it was as easy as a tiger trying to kill a few sheep if he wanted to kill a few researchers in the lab. He could ask Engumi Khan to do that, and all he needed was an instruction. But would Peaceful be willing to do that? She had gone from China to India, then appeared in this mysterious biotech company. She had appeared in a lab with dead bodies. If there was no reason, why would she do such a strange thing? Before figuring out the truth, he had asked Engumi Khan to take her away. What if she suddenly died again? What should he do? Boss! It was Engumi Khan's voice. Charlotte ended his thoughts. Don't take her away. Let her stay there. Give me a copy of all the surveillance videos in the control room. Also, if you can get some information about what kind of experiment they're doing, that would be even better. Okay, I will try. Engumi Khan hung up. What followed was another anxious and uneasy wait. This wait lasted for half an hour. Charlotte couldn't help but want to call Engumi Khan, but he was afraid that Engumi Khan was sneaking into an office to steal confidential information. If he called him rashly, he would be exposed. I need a hacker. It's easy to find a hacker, but it's impossible to get him to join the Zodiac Squad. Also, some of the things I want to do are not convenient to tell the members of the Zodiac Squad. It seems that I have to learn how to be a hacker. While waiting, Charlotte came up with this idea. When he was still in Germany, in order to steal Joseph's intelligent machine tool technology, he had painstakingly studied software knowledge. Later, when he was at Rheinmetall for the second time, he also studied in this area. But most of what he learned was electrical engineering and software knowledge. How to be a hacker, this area of knowledge was not involved. This idea went from impulsive to mature in just a few minutes. Then he called Long Bing. Yawn. It's so late, what's up? On the phone, Long Bing's voice was lazy, but her tone was warm and happy. Charlotte said, "Do you have a hacker under you? The very powerful kind." "Why do you need a hacker?" Long Bing's sleepiness suddenly disappeared. "I don't need a hacker to help me do anything. I just want to learn in this area. I think if there's someone to teach me, I can learn faster." Charlotte said, "I see. No problem. I have such a person under me. I will ask him to come see you." Long Bing said, and then yawned again. "When you bring him here tomorrow, ask him to bring some professional books." "Okay. All right. It's so late. Why aren't you asleep?" "I can't sleep." Charlotte couldn't tell her what Angumi Khan was doing for him. "I can't sleep after being woken up by you. What should I do?" Charlotte smiled. "Continue to cover your ass and sleep." "I can't sleep myself. Can I help you?" "Okay. You also cover your ass and sleep. Good night." Long Bing hung up the phone. Do. Just after ending the call with Long Bing, Angumi Khan called. "Boss, I'm out." It was Angumi Khan's voice. "Why did it take so long?" I sneaked into an office and looked at the photos on the wall and the nameplate on the table. I found out that I entered the office of the company's boss, Nahar. "I got the information you wanted." "Great. Send it to me as soon as possible. If it's paper, take a photo and send it to me." Charlotte was very anxious. "There are a lot of them. I have to find a computer, and then I will send it to your email." "There is a computer in Nahar's office, but I don't dare to use it. I'm afraid that it will be traced to you." It was Angumi Khan's voice. "You handled it well." "Boss, are you sure you don't want to take that woman away? That place is too strange. I'm a little worried about her safety." Angumi Khan said, "No need. Send me the information and continue to stay outside to monitor that company. If Serenity comes out, tell me immediately. If Nahar comes out, find a way to get close to him and put a bug on him." Charlotte made a new arrangement. "Got it." Angumi Khan hung up the phone. He still had to wait, but he was not in a hurry at this time. He felt that he was very close to the truth. After Angumi Khan sent the information, he might be able to solve this mystery. Chapter 808. Half an hour later, Angumi Khan sent back the documents he had obtained. Charlotte couldn't get up after reading them. Xiangfeng Biotechnology Company had a secret scientific research project, which was called reincarnation in Chinese. Reincarnation was a Buddhist saying that after people died, they would fall into the 6 paths of reincarnation, namely the heavenly path, the human path, the Asura path, the hell path, the hungry ghost path, and the animal path. No matter which path it was a matter of the next life, which was the future of the dead. The saying of reincarnation was very beautiful. It gave people hope and taught people to be good. But in reality, people only had this life. When they died, it was over. There was no next life. Many people understood this principle, but Nahar was obviously not among them. Not only did he believe in the legend of reincarnation in Buddhism, but he even made it a scientific research project. And this project didn't start recently. It started after Nahar's successful business, and it had a history of 15 years. Since it was reincarnation, the experimental materials were also people. In the early days, Nahar had experimented on children from lower caste families. After it was exposed, the Indian police had investigated him, but it was later dropped because of corruption. From a description of the documents, Nahar had never experimented on living people after that accident. Instead, he experimented on fresh corpses that had just died. The 2 women's corpses that Angumi Khan had captured on the monitor were obviously one of the materials for the reincarnation research project. Before, Charlotte couldn't understand why there were women's corpses in the laboratory, but now he understood. He also understood the purpose of this project. Reincarnation was to use technology to resurrect the dead, but they lived in this world through the 6 paths of reincarnation. From the documents sent back by Angumi Khan, Charlotte found that although the reincarnation project had existed for 15 years, and Nahar had invested a lot of money and energy, he had never resurrected the dead. Trees grow and wither, people grow old and die. The world changes. This is the law of nature. How can human beings reverse it? Not to mention humans, even the earth, and even the universe would be completely destroyed one day. Could you jump out of this reincarnation cycle? He's a biological scientist, but he actually wants to use technology to resurrect the dead. It's really whimsical. Charlotte couldn't help but shake his head at the end. But just as he was flipping to the end, a photo suddenly entered Charlotte's sight. At that moment, his heart felt like it was being grabbed by an invisible hand, and it almost stopped beating. The photo that appeared on the monitor was of Gu Qin. Her skin was as white as snow, and her eyes were closed. Her expression was serene, and there was still the trace of a smile on her lips when she died. She didn't seem to be dead, just asleep. She was still wearing the snow combat suit she had worn the last time she had appeared in front of him, and there were still many bloodstains on it. It was the bloodstains that reminded him that she was already dead and no longer in this world. Looking at Gu Qin on the monitor, Charlotte only came back to his senses after a few minutes. He muttered to himself, how did she appear in the reincarnation project of the powerful biotechnology company? After the battle in Tavong, China did not immediately dispose of the corpses. After diplomatic negotiations, both the United States and India denied that they had sent those people and even denied their identities. The corpses were left on the snow-capped mountain for a while, and Charlotte didn't ask how they were disposed of later. He didn't expect that a photo of Gu Qin's corpse would appear in the reincarnation project of a biotech company in India. Since there was a photo of Gu Qin's corpse in Ha-Er's files, he didn't need to investigate how her corpse was disposed of. No matter what happened during this period, Gu Qin's corpse was in the hands of the powerful biotechnology company. Charlotte suddenly thought of the huge glass container and the woman soaked in the blood-colored liquid. Could she be Gu Qin? Tranquility, the voice in Tranquility's head that could suddenly kill her. Gu Qin, the reincarnation project, $10 million. Charlotte's brain was filled with these things. He felt like there was an invisible string connecting all these things, but he couldn't grasp it. If the container in the photo contains Gu Qin, does that mean Ha wants to use the reincarnation project to revive her? That might be possible. Ha-Er's reincarnation project hasn't succeeded once in the past 15 years. How could he revive Gu Qin? Right, Tranquility sent $10 million. Is that the fee for reviving Gu Qin? If that's the case, why would Tranquility ask me for such a large sum of money to revive Gu Qin? She doesn't even know her. Many hypotheses appeared in Charlotte's head, and then they were all overturned. Finally, a face somehow appeared in Charlotte's brain. It was Zhu Xuanyue's face. This was not the first time that Tranquility had become possessed. Last time, it was because Tranquility had drawn those pictures and asked him to go to the Louvre in Paris. That was how he had been able to enter the underground maze and awaken Zhu Xuanyue. This time, Tranquility had become possessed again. She had escaped the half-militarized sanatorium and asked for $10 million to go to India. She had found Nahar, and Gu Qin's body had been found in the lab. The clues that he hadn't been able to grasp suddenly became clear. Everything that had happened had something to do with Zhu Xuanyue. She said she would come back. Is she going to crawl into Gu Qin's body this time? Did she ask Tranquility to send the money so that Nahar would help her? She is so powerful. She can control Tranquility. So why doesn't she control Nahar? Why would she give Nahar money? Is there a reason that I can't figure out? Charlotte's head felt like it was going to explode. The urge to fly to India came again, and he couldn't suppress it. Flipping through Gu Qin's picture, a purchase list entered Charlotte's sight. The list listed a medical robot that the Samsara project had purchased. It had a high level of artificial intelligence, and it could cut open a human's brain to perform surgery. It could even use biotechnology to repair a person's damaged nerves. Its price was $5 million, and it was pretty much the most expensive medical robot in the world. Charlotte's eyes suddenly moved to the bottom of the list, and he froze. The supplier that provided this medical robot to Strong Biotechnology was the Japanese Hattori family's Vico Corporation. He had almost finished it, but the Hattori family's business had appeared in Nahar's secret files, and things had suddenly become complicated. Flipping through the list, there was information that had nothing to do with the Samsara project. This information gave Charlotte a better understanding of Nahar's current situation. Nahar was the founder of Strong Biotechnology, but he wasn't the only shareholder. He had invested all the money he had earned into the Samsara project, and the other shareholders had gradually controlled Strong Biotechnology with money rolling in. The biggest problem he was facing now was not obtaining any technological results, but the fact that he was about to be kicked out of the board of directors of Strong Biotechnology. He didn't have enough money to buy the smart robot from the Hattori family's Vico Corporation, which sold for as much as $5 million. He also remembered Angyumi Khan's description of Nahar. Back then, Angyumi Khan's first impression of Nahar was that he wasn't a billionaire, but more like a neurotic and down-and-out university professor or scientific researcher. If he was a billionaire, he definitely wouldn't drive himself to see Peaceful, and he definitely wouldn't meet Peaceful at the bank. The money that Peaceful took from him was used to pay Vico Corporation. $5 million was used to repair Gu Qian's damaged neck nerves, and the remaining $5 million was the follow-up costs. After reading all the documents, Charlotte quietly thought for a moment, then picked up the satellite phone. "It's me." Charlotte's voice was solemn. "Now gather everyone to New Delhi and bring our weapons and equipment. Yelena, contact Angyumi Khan immediately. He will pick you up." "What action?" Yelena's voice came from the satellite phone. "I'm not sure, but we have to go to New Delhi." The figure of the Japanese killer appeared in Charlotte's mind. He didn't know why, but he had a hunch that the person had escaped without killing him last time. But this time, he might meet him in New Delhi. "Okay, I'll contact the others immediately, and we'll leave immediately." Yelena's voice came through. "Boss, are you going too?" "Of course, but I have to wait for a day. You guys go first and get ready. Then pick someone to accompany you. We don't feel safe if you go alone." Yelena's voice came through. Charlotte thought for a moment. "Then Akiko Tsukino. She'll accompany me to New Delhi." "Okay, then I'll contact the others now." Yelena hung up. Charlotte then dialed Angyumi Khan's number. "Boss, have you finished reading the documents?" Angyumi Khan's voice came through. "What did you find?" Charlotte said in a deep voice. "Leave the building of Strong Technology Company immediately, and only leave your people there." "What happened?" Angyumi Khan's voice was full of speculation. "The Japanese Hattori family is involved in this matter. They are very dangerous, and you have to leave immediately. You alone are not their match at all. Once you're discovered, you'll be in danger." "Boss, aren't you too nervous?" Angyumi Khan laughed. "This is India, my territory. Would a mere Japanese family dare to make a move against me here? It's this family. During the battle in Tavong, Shi province, they directly attacked the agents of 101 innings and then chased after me in Tang Yuyan. If it weren't for my good luck, I would have been dead. China is my territory, and I have agents of 101 innings by my side. If they dare to make a move, do you think they won't dare to do it in India? What I want to tell you is that in that battle, they bribed 50 elite soldiers of the Indian Mountain Division to participate in the operation. I'm telling you this. Do you understand? Retreat. This is an order." Charlotte's voice was very strict. "Okay, I'll listen to you. I'll retreat immediately, leaving only my men to continue to monitor the building of Strong Technology Company. Be careful." Charlotte hung up the phone after reminding him. The night was dark outside the window, and there was still some time before dawn. The members of the Zodiac Squad had already started their operation, but he still had to stay here for a day. In this day, not only did he have to arrange and deal with all the matters properly, but he also had to add an identity for himself, the identity of a hacker. It was undoubtedly a dream for a person to become a hacker in a day, and a professional hacker at that. But for him, it wasn't a goal that could only be achieved in a dream, but it was something that he was willing to do. With an IQ of 998, an eidetic memory, and a brain comparable to a supercomputer, with these foundations, if he wanted to be a hacker, then he would be a hacker. He sat back at his desk, opened the web page, and entered Introduction to Hacking into the Baidu search engine. A lot of information popped up. His supervision and his super brain simultaneously entered an extraordinary working state. Chapter 809. Director Xia, didn't you go back last night? Qin Kaiwe saw Charlotte sitting in front of the desk as soon as she entered. Charlotte looked up from the monitor and glanced at Qin Kaiwe. Do you think it's so easy to be a boss? I was working while you were resting. Director Xia, you're the most hardworking boss I have ever seen. No wonder you have achieved so much at such a young age. Qin Kaiwe put down her windbreaker and walked towards Charlotte. Director Xia, you must be tired. Let me give you a massage. Charlotte smiled. No need. No need. Just make me a cup of tea. Can't I just massage your neck? Qin Kaiwe looked very wronged. Well, then help me massage my neck. After reading hacking knowledge on the computer all night, Charlotte's neck was indeed a little sore. It was good to massage his neck muscles to relax. Qin Kaiwe walked behind Charlotte and put her hands on Charlotte's neck, gently massaging it. Her hands were very gentle, and Charlotte felt very comfortable. While he was enjoying Qin Kaiwe's massage, his eyes moved to the monitor and continued reading the hacking knowledge on the screen. It had been a night, and he didn't know how much hacking knowledge he had read. However, he was not satisfied, because he knew that the hacking knowledge that could be found on the internet was not the most professional hacking knowledge. After all, hacking skills were illegal. In a while, the professional hackers sent by Long Bing would bring him professional books and personally teach him. He had to recover as soon as possible, which was why he was willing to accept Qin Kaiwe's massage. Qin Kaiwe glanced at the content on the monitor and was slightly stunned. Director Xia, are you learning computer knowledge? I'm not really learning. I'm just taking a look, said Xiaolei. Qin Kaiwe's gaze quickly moved away from the monitor. She was not interested in the content on the monitor. She was interested in the man sitting in front of the computer. Her hands gently massaged Charlotte's neck, and her body quietly pressed against the back of Charlotte's head. Director Xia, you haven't had breakfast yet, right? I'll make it for you later. Qin Kaiwe lowered her head, her lips almost touching Charlotte's ear as she said, Tell me, what do you want to eat? Tell me, what do you want to eat? These words were full of imagination. Moreover, her voice was very gentle, with heat and temptation. However, this was not the only temptation. Her full breasts quietly pressed against the back of Charlotte's head, and a soft and plump feeling suddenly came over him. He couldn't help but want to laugh in his heart. This demoness is really bold, seducing her boss like this. However, he said, No, I ate a box of biscuits and chocolate before you came. I'm not hungry. Charlotte didn't reject her, so Qin Kaiwe became bolder. She moved her hands from Charlotte's neck to his shoulders. However, she didn't stop massaging his neck. Instead, she changed her hands to something else without bones. Because of their large size, they almost drowned Charlotte's neck. Charlotte frowned slightly, but it wasn't because he was disgusted, it was because he felt uncomfortable. No normal man could remain calm in the face of the seduction of a demoness like Qin Kaiwe, and he was obviously no exception. Director Xia, do you want to come to the lounge and let me give you a good massage? Qin Kaiwe's voice was very sweet. Charlotte was about to speak when a young man appeared at the door. He was in his 20s and had a strong body. In his hands was a stack of books and a computer bag. Long Bing's people were here. Qin Kaiwe hurriedly stood up straight and adjusted her open collar. Who are you? Who are you looking for? The young man's expression was a little awkward. My name is Luo Hui. I'm for Division Chief Long's people. Division Chief Long asked me to come. Mr. Luo, please take a seat. Charlotte greeted him, then said to Qin Kaiwe, Kaiwe, go make 2 cups of tea. Okay, right away. Qin Kaiwe went to make tea. Charlotte's gaze moved to Qin Kaiwe's perky butt. The trace of moisture made him shake his head and smile bitterly. Of course, he could see the same scene, but Luo Hui couldn't. Director Xia, Division Chief Long has already explained the situation to me. As soon as he sat down, Luo Hui went straight to the point. I made a 1-month intensive study plan for you. Director Xia, if you work hard enough, you'll have no problem getting started. Charlotte smiled. So you've taken a month's leave? Yes. Division Chief Long has already approved. Luo Hui said. No need. I'll only study for 1 day. Charlotte said. Luo Hui said in surprise. Director Xia, You'll only study for 1 day. What can you learn in 1 day? In fact, he had made a 1-month study plan for Charlotte, but he himself felt that the time was not enough. He didn't expect that Charlotte would only study for 1 day. Based on his own experience, 1 day was not enough to become a hacker. Qin Kaiwe made 2 cups of tea. Mr. Luo, please have some tea. Director Xia, please have some tea. Charlotte said, Kaiwe, go do your work. How's the thing I asked you to do yesterday going? Qin Kaiwe said, I contacted Ms. Wu. When she heard that Rima Group wanted someone, she agreed immediately. She said that she would send someone for an interview today. She smiled. I've said it before, it's not difficult for Rima Group to poach people. Those who are interested in job hopping will come for an interview when they hear that it's our company. Charlotte said, go and see for yourself. Pass the first hurdle. Don't just let anyone come for an interview. Only bring someone who you think is suitable and capable. Okay, I'll go right away. Qin Kaiwe left. In fact, other than being a little coquettish toward her boss, she was very good in other aspects. Especially her work ability. She could share some of Charlotte's work pressure. After Qin Kaiwe left, Luo Hui said, Director Xia, where do we start? Charlotte said, you drink tea first. I'll look at the books you brought. Luo Hui was stunned for a moment, then nodded. He drank tea while watching Charlotte flip through the books he brought. He saw Charlotte flipping through one page after another. It didn't look like he was reading at all. It looked like he was looking for his secret stash of money in the books. He couldn't help but wonder, is Director Xia playing with me? What can he possibly learn in a day? However, what made Luo Hui even more depressed was that he sat there for more than an hour. Xia Lei flipped through the pages of his book next to him, flipping through one page, then another. He felt that Charlotte was playing with him, but sometimes Charlotte would ask him a question. His professionalism surprised him. In short, he couldn't understand the man in front of him. After a while, Charlotte finished reading all the professional books Luo Hui brought. With a single glance, the contents of the several million bytes were all absorbed into his brain through his left eye, and his brain also stored them word for word. During the whole process of reading, his left eye and brain were like a bottomless black hole, crazily absorbing the knowledge in the books. Not even a punctuation mark could escape. Charlotte put the last book on the coffee table and said, I've actually read all these books before. What I want to learn is practical operation. Can you show me? Luo Hui was stunned. You've read all these books? How is that possible? These books are compiled by the relevant military departments. They don't exist outside. Charlotte smiled. Am I not one of you? If you could get a book like that, so can I. That's true. Then I'll give you a practical demonstration. Luo Hui took out his laptop. He didn't ask for Charlotte's password and quickly entered the operation interface. Then he looked at Charlotte. Where are we going to attack? We're going to attack Rima Group's security system, said Charlotte. Luo Hui began to operate, his fingers flying. He was like a completely different person from before. Charlotte watched Luo Hui operate the computer without blinking. The steps and related content entered his vision one by one. The relevant hacking knowledge also appeared in his brain at the same time. Practical and theoretical knowledge collided in his brain, creating a chemical reaction. In just a few minutes, the laptop showed the surveillance footage of Thunder Horse Military Factory. There were real-time recordings of the main door and also of the workshop entrance. However, there was no footage of the inside of the workshop, only the outside. The reason for this precaution was because Rima Group would definitely be targeted by European and American military hackers. He didn't want American military hackers chewing gum on the other side of the ocean to copy and steal his secrets while his workers were in production. Director Xia, you're really smart. Although I've entered Thunder Horse Military Factory surveillance system, I've gained almost nothing, said Luo Hui. If it weren't for the fact that my employees need to go online to buy movies or something, I wouldn't even want to sign a cable, said Charlotte. Luo Hui was speechless. You're an expert. You know why? I'm sure European and American hackers are frequent visitors. Xia Lei smiled. All right, can you demonstrate it to me again? This time, we're going to attack a place with a higher level of protection. Where do you want to attack? 101 innings, said Charlotte. I want to see what's in Section Chief Long's computer. Huh? I wouldn't dare. Luo Hui shook his head. Why wouldn't you dare? I'll take responsibility if something happens. You stay with Section Chief Long. I'll talk to her, said Charlotte. Then, what about Boss Sure? I'll explain to him too, okay. All right then. Luo Hui smiled bitterly and started working on the computer again. The operation this time was very complicated, and Xia Lei watched it very carefully, not daring to miss out on anything at all. Being able to enter the security system of 101 innings meant that he had entered the highest level of security in the world. If he learned it, it wouldn't be a problem for him to enter the CIA security system in the future. It was the same process. Luo Hui was operating while Charlotte was using his eyes and brain to learn. From Luo Hui's operation, the relevant hacking knowledge stored in his brain continuously changed into knowledge that he could understand and grasp. With his 998 IQ, comparable to a computer's brain, the things he understood and learned were things that even Luo Hui didn't know about. Luo Hui didn't know that every step of his operation and explanation was helping a super hacker grow. He didn't know at all what kind of storm the man sitting next to him would stir up in the hacker world in the future. Time passed little by little. The seed of a super hacker took root and sprouted in this soil. It drilled out of the soil and grew rapidly. This process was like a snapshot of the plant world. There was no fastest, only faster. Chapter 8:10. After a full 20 minutes, Luo Hui finally got it done and entered the security system of 101 innings. But in just a few seconds, he was locked on and attacked. Oh no, I've been discovered. Luo Hui looked very nervous. Charlotte said, It's okay. I'll take responsibility if anything happens. As soon as his voice fell, a phone call came in. Brat, are you looking for death? Sure Boren's voice was like that of an enraged bull. What's the matter? Mr. Sure, why are you scolding me? Charlotte answered the phone while motioning Luo Hui to turn off the computer. Luo Hui smiled bitterly and shrugged. Sure Boren had already called. What's the use of turning off the computer now? What do you want to do? Which part of 101 innings haven't you seen? If you want to know what's in my computer, I'll show it to you. Come and see immediately. Charlotte, if it weren't for Long Bing saying that you want to learn that technology, the people who want to catch you are already on the way. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, Mr. Sure, I didn't mean it. You didn't mean it? Then show me. Tell me, why did you choose 101 innings? Charlotte said, because the security system of 101 innings is the same level as the CIA security system. I thought that after I learned this technology, I could enter the CIA security system and have a look. Maybe I'll give you a big gift. Big gift my ass. Do you think the CIA security system is so easy to enter? If you want to do scientific research, then do it. If you want to make weapons, then make weapons. Don't do these things that make people worried all day. Otherwise, you'll play yourself to death sooner or later. Well, I know. I was wrong. I'll correct it. Sure Boren changed the topic. It's my 60th birthday next month. I'm too lazy to write you an invitation. You can come with Tang Yuyen. Remember, I don't accept gifts. You and Yuyen just were something nice. Okay, I'll be there in advance. Boss Sure. Okay, that's it. I'll let you off this time. If you do something stupid again, I'll throw you into prison. Sure Boren hung up the phone. Charlotte let out a sigh of relief. Luo Hui gave Charlotte a thumbs up. Chairman Xia, if it was someone else, they would probably be sentenced to a few years or even 10 years in prison. Only you could get away with a scolding. Charlotte was thinking about something else. Sure Boren was about to turn 60, and the day he would leave 101 innings was getting closer. Who will take over after he leaves? If it had been Tang Yuyen, it would have been fine. But if it had been someone else, based on what he had asked Luo Hui to do today, it would not have been as simple as being scolded. Should we continue? Luo Hui asked. Charlotte came back to his senses and said, Continue. Of course we have to continue. Let me operate it. You? Luo Hui looked at Charlotte as if he was looking at a monster. What he did not say was, You've only seen me operate it twice, and you want to test the waters? Do you really think you're a born hacker? Well, let me try. Charlotte brought Luo Hui's laptop in front of him. He thought for a moment and said, "This time, we'll attack the security system of Hanwoo Weapons Company." Luo Hui did not know what to say anymore. Xiao Lei's fingers were also flying as he operated. His fingers danced on the keyboard, and the keys made a crackling sound. It felt like an off-road vehicle running over a beach full of gravel, sweeping everything in its path. Luo Hui's eyes widened, and he stared at Charlotte without blinking. He could not move his eyes away. Charlotte kept typing and typing. Every movement was light and agile. It was as if his brain could give the most correct answers and instructions without thinking, and his fingers would complete the brain's instructions in an instant, achieving a near-perfect synchronization. 10 minutes later, a surveillance video appeared on the laptop's monitor. On the monitor, there were many folders. They were all confidential documents of Hanwoo Weapons Company, blueprints, accounts, customer information, and so on. Luo Hui's jaw dropped to the ground. What made his jaw drop was not only that Xiao Lei had successfully hacked into Hanwoo Weapons Company security system. Another reason that made his jaw drop was that even if he had been the one to do it, he would not have been able to hack into Hanwoo Weapons Company's security system in such a short period of time. However, Charlotte's next move made him completely embarrassed. Charlotte activated the computer's camera and peeked into Yi Kuen's office. Yi Kuen appeared on the screen, and there was a young and beautiful female secretary. The two of them did not do anything good. The female secretary was sitting on his lap, and his hands were in her clothes. "You really can't change your ways." Charlotte turned off the camera. Luo Hui was still staring at Charlotte, as if he did not hear what he said. "Let's change the location. Let's choose a target in Japan. How about that?" Luo Hui was speechless. Half of the day passed by in constant learning and practice. Charlotte's target changed from Asia to Europe, and then from Europe to the Middle East. He did whatever he wanted, and his ideas were unconstrained. Before the day was up, Luo Hui could not stay any longer. "Chairman Xia, why are you playing this kind of joke with me? You're many times better than me in the field of hacking, but you want me to teach you? What are you trying to do?" He didn't know that before he came, Xiao Lei wasn't a hacker at all, but just a beginner. But now, the beginner had become a top-notch veteran, and he, a would-be hacker, had become a rookie. Other than that, what else could he think of? If it was someone else looking at this, the result would be the same. They would only think of it as a joke, and no one would think of Charlotte's brain and eyes. Hee, I just want to spar with a hacker at your level. Don't mind me. Charlotte, of course, would not expose him. Goodbye. Luo Hui was a little angry, and he packed his things angrily. Charlotte took out a card from his trouser pocket and put it on Luo Hui's laptop. "This is a shopping card. Our company custom-made it. It has a limit of 50,000 yuan. You can go to the mall and buy something you like." "Chairman Xiao, what do you mean by this?" Luo Hui did not reach out. Charlotte said with a smile, "Take it. Are you afraid that I will frame you? You are Long Bing's person. Long Bing and I have a good relationship. Would I harm you? I just want you to help me keep this secret. Can I?" Only then did Luo Hui put away the shopping card. He nodded and said, "Thank you, Chairman Xia. I will keep this a secret." Charlotte smiled. Shortly after Luo Hui left, Qin Kaiwei led a young man to Charlotte's office. The young man looked to be in his early 20s. He wore a pair of rimless glasses, had fair skin, and looked gentle. Just as Charlotte was sizing up the young man, Qin Kaiwei introduced him. "Chairman Xia, this is Huang Shuwen, the talent in artificial intelligence that Madame Wu recommended to us." The young man nodded to Charlotte. "Hello, Chairman Xia." Charlotte got up and walked up to the young man. He said with a smile, "I thought you would be an old man. I didn't expect you to be so young." Huang Shuwen said, "There aren't many old people in the field of artificial intelligence. What achievements have you made?" Charlotte asked. "I have won awards in both domestic and international artificial intelligence competitions. You can see in my resume." Huang Shuwen handed his resume to Charlotte with both hands. Charlotte looked at it and nodded with satisfaction. "Graduated from Tsing University, majoring in artificial intelligence. You have won many awards. Your resume is very good. Although you have no work experience in other companies, I'm willing to hire you." Huang Shuwen said, "Chairman Xia, I just graduated, so I have no experience working in other companies. Artificial intelligence is very unpopular, and it's not easy to find a suitable job. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, but I have a request. Well, what request? Xiaolei was a little surprised. This was his first interview, and he already made a request. It was not difficult to see that this young man really lacked experience in the workplace. However, he did not care about this, as long as he had the ability. He did not want people who understood the ways of the world and flattered him. He wanted people who could do things. Qin Kaiwei also looked at Huang Shuwen with a strange expression. She did not expect that Huang Shuwen would dare to make a request to Charlotte just after his interview. Huang Shuwen hesitated for a moment before saying, I have found a job, but my classmates haven't. They're the same as me. They are all studying artificial intelligence. When they heard that I was coming, they were very envious of me for having such an opportunity. They are actually very good. I can assure you of this. I know the request I'm about to make is a little overboard, but I still want to make it. Well, Chairman Xia, we all admire your contributions to this country. We see you as a hero, and we all worship you. Can you recruit them all? Qin Kaiwei frowned. What's the matter with you? I only recruited you, but you even brought your classmates with you. If our Chairman Xia agrees, are you going to drag your relatives and friends along with you? Qin Haodong thought. Apologize to Chairman Xia quickly. Huang Shuwen looked at Charlotte, who did not speak or smile and seemed to be unhappy. He suddenly became nervous and quickly said, I'm sorry, Chairman Xia. I don't know how to speak. Please forgive me. Charlotte looked at him and suddenly smiled. Why are you apologizing? You can think of your classmates, which shows that you are a person who values friendship. I like people who value friendship. Your proposal is also good. How many classmates want to come with you? 12. Huang Shuwen braced himself and said, No problem. You can ask them all to come. I will set up an artificial intelligence department, and you will be the leader. What do you think? Charlotte said. Huang Shuwen said happily, Thank you, Chairman Xia. Thank you, Chairman Xia. Charlotte smiled and said, Go. Come to work tomorrow. You can bring your classmates here. You don't have to see me. Just find Secretary Qing. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Xia. Thank you, Chairman Xia. Huang Shuwen bowed deeply to Charlotte and then left. Qin Kaiwei looked at Charlotte with watery eyes. Chairman Xia, you are too soft-hearted and kind. Charlotte said, Are you singing or something? Go and prepare an office for them. When Huang Shuwen brings his people here tomorrow, you are responsible for receiving and arranging their work. Are you going out again? Charlotte nodded. At this time tomorrow, he would probably be in New Delhi. After Qin Kaiwei left, Charlotte took out the satellite phone and dialed a number. Then he said, Where are you now? I have been waiting for you in your car. When are we leaving? It was Akiko Tsukino's voice. Chapter 811. India, New Delhi. A man and a woman walked out of Gandhi International Airport and stood on the side of the road waiting for a taxi. The man was in his 30s. He had a beard on his chin, and he looked tall and strong. He was holding a toy monkey in his hands, as if he was going to give it to a child. The woman was also in her 30s. She looked ordinary, but her body was very hot. She stood with the man, and it gave people the feeling that they were a couple from China who were traveling to India. A taxi stopped in front of the two of them. The driver stuck his head out of the driver's seat and asked the two of them in Hindi and English if they wanted a ride. The two of them shook their heads and refused. Then, a red Ford Road Shaker stopped in front of the two of them. No one asked, and the two of them opened the door and got in. The Ford Road Shaker drove into the driveway and headed in the direction of New Delhi. Boss, if it wasn't for the monkey in your hand, I wouldn't have recognized you, Nguyen Khan, who was driving, said. The man and woman sitting on the sofa in the back seat were Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino. Both of them were wearing human skin masks. This technique was taught to Charlotte by Xia Chang'e. Not only did he learn the technique, but he also improved it. The human skin mask he made was more realistic and better. Coming to India, Charlotte, of course, couldn't appear in public with his real face. Tell me the new situation, Charlotte said. He threw the toy monkey that was used to hint his identity behind the sofa. My people are still monitoring the place near the headquarters of Strong Biotech. Peaceful hasn't come out, and Hal hasn't come out either. Also, my people helped me find some information about Hal. That guy is very good at scientific research, but he's a layman when it comes to business. He founded Strong Biotech, but now he's going to be kicked out of the board of directors. Everyone thinks he's still a billionaire, but other than the lab, he's now a pauper, Yumi-kan said. This matched the information Charlotte got from the documents, but Yumi-kan clearly didn't look at the documents carefully. I know. Take me to a computer city, Charlotte said. Why are we going to Computer City? Aren't you going to our safe house? Yelena and Sayamu are waiting for you there. Yumi-kan said. I'm going to buy a computer and accessories. I'll take over Amanda's work from now on, Charlotte said. Yumi-kan couldn't help but look back at Charlotte in surprise. Akiko Tsukino also looked at Charlotte strangely. She also did not believe that Charlotte could do Amanda's job. Being a hacker required talent and professional training. Charlotte obviously did not have these two conditions. Charlotte did not explain to Yumi-kan and Akiko Tsukino. He looked out of the window at the passing scenery, but his mind was thinking about the woman soaked in the glass container. Was she really Gu-Kyun? Drive carefully, Akiko Tsukino said. Yumi-kan shrugged and turned back to continue driving. Half an hour later, the Ford Road Shaker stopped in front of a computer mall. Charlotte let Yumi-kan and Akiko Tsukino stay in the car and wait for him. He entered the computer mall alone. He said he's going to take over Amanda's work. Yumi-kan looked back at Akiko Tsukino. Do you believe it? He can build tanks, but I don't believe he's a hacker. We haven't worked with Amanda many times, but her skills in the field of hacking are top-notch. However, Amanda is dead. We also need someone like that to support our operations. Give the boss some time, and he'll learn. Akiko Tsukino said. I hope so, Yumi-kan said. Yumi-kan, let me ask you something. What is it? Are there really a lot of rapists in India? I'm an Indian. Your question makes me uncomfortable. Do you want to experience it once? I can satisfy you. Sure, if you want to squat and pee, then come. A sharp shuriken appeared in Akiko Tsukino's hand. Yumi-kan smiled awkwardly. Even if I were to rape a man, I wouldn't rape you. Well, to answer your question, there aren't many. There were only 2 cases yesterday. Akiko Tsukino. The two didn't talk for long before Charlotte walked out of the computer mall. He was carrying a computer bag and a large plastic bag. The bag was filled with computer accessories, CPUs, solid-state drives, and power supplies. Let's go. Charlotte only said one sentence after getting in the car. Yumi-kan started the car and continued driving. Inside the car, Charlotte disassembled a Lenovo Xiaoyang series R2000 S14. 1-inch laptop he bought and replaced the accessories he needed. This computer was sold for 68,000 yuan in China and 600,000 rupees in India, which was cheaper than in China. It had bulletproof and self-destruct functions, but the configuration was terrible. The reason he bought it was because its body was thick enough to be modified. The large bag of accessories he bought was worth hundreds of thousands of rupees. For this computer, he spent more than 100,000 yuan. This kind of equipment was considered top-notch equipment in the hacker world. Of course, it was only mobile equipment. It only took 10 minutes for Charlotte to replace the large bag of accessories. The accessories that were removed from the original computer were thrown out the window. Then he started the computer and installed the program. His 10 fingers were so fast that it was dazzling, and the car was filled with the crackling sound of keys being pressed. Akiko Tsukino looked at Charlotte dumbfounded, but she couldn't understand the instructions on the monitor. She couldn't help but ask, "Boss, have you done this before?" "No, I just learned it yesterday," Charlotte said, and then he added, "I'm not very familiar with it yet." Akiko Tsukino, it was already like this when he wasn't very familiar with it. If he was familiar with it, how could others live? After another 10 minutes, Charlotte plugged a mobile network card into the computer and entered the internet. He said, "Slow down." Yumi-kan slowed down the car. As the car slowed down, Charlotte's 10 fingers were typing on the keyboard again. The sound was dull, but it attracted the attention of Akiko Tsukino and Yumi-kan. Before the Ford Road Shaker reached its destination, a group of surveillance images appeared on the computer monitor. It was the surveillance image of Chang Biotech. Akiko Tsukino and Angyumi Khan were stunned again. Charlotte's finger tapped on the monitor, and a surveillance image was zoomed in. It was the surveillance image of Ha-Er's laboratory. The glass container that contained the woman and the red liquid appeared on the surveillance image, as well as the bodies of the two young women, and Charlotte's gaze moved to a metal bed, and he couldn't look away anymore. The body lying on the bed was not the body of a young woman, but tranquility. She only had a pair of underwear on her body, and her body was covered with wires and tubes for the liquid. Her eyes were closed, and she didn't move at all. The bodies of the two young women were in the same situation. Their bodies were covered with wires and tubes for the liquid. The wires on the two female corpses and Tranquility's bodies, without exception, entered the huge glass container that contained the red liquid. It was a very strange scene, and even Charlotte couldn't tell what was going on. If the glass container contains Gu Qian's body, then there are 3 female corpses in this lab. What is going on with Tranquility? Wait a minute. Ha-Er's reincarnation project has used living people as experiments. Is Ha using Tranquility as an experiment? If this was started by Zhu Xianyue, then she only needs a fresh body to revive, but there are 3 bodies in the lab. If there is Tranquility, Charlotte's brain was running wild, but he still couldn't figure out what was going on. Boss, Akiko Tsukino couldn't help but ask, is this really your first time hacking? Charlotte's train of thought was interrupted, and he said, I learned it before. If Amanda was still alive, I wouldn't have done this. I had no choice. I think you're better than Amanda, Akiko Tsukino said. Let's not talk about me. Charlotte changed the subject. Tonight, I want to enter the lab. Come with me. You're good at this. Akiko Tsukino nodded. Charlotte's eyes moved to the monitor. Appeared on the monitor screen with a few people. They were Asian faces. They were dressed neatly, and their expressions were serious. Charlotte's heart jumped. Are they Japanese? Are they from the Hattori family? The Chinese, Koreans, and Japanese were similar. It was hard to tell from their skin color and appearance, but it was easy to tell from their behavior, dressing style, and temperament. The Chinese were easygoing and friendly. The Koreans were sensitive and hot-tempered. The Japanese were serious and reserved, and they paid attention to etiquette. Coupled with the deal between Ha and the Hattori family, Charlotte could easily guess the identity of the Asian faces. The appearance of the Hattori family wasn't a good sign at all. In the monitor, Ha brought the Japanese to the glass container, pointed to the woman in the glass container, and said something to the Japanese. The Japanese nodded slightly, showing their approval. However, without technical processing, Charlotte couldn't use the lip-reading technique to interpret the conversation between Ha and the Japanese. 2 faces appeared in Charlotte's mind. One was the face of my Hattori, and the other was the face of the leader of the Japanese assassins who appeared in the Battle of Tavong in the Western Province. Akiko, you are Japanese, and you're a ninja of the IGA clan. Do you think the Hattori family has a ninja like you? Charlotte suddenly raised this question. Akiko Tsukino thought for a moment. The Hattori family is a very old family, and they're also the descendants of the legendary ninja Hattori Hanzo, so they should have one. But I don't know much about the Hattori family, and I have never fought with the Hattori family, so I don't know their strength. A sneer appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. You will have a chance to fight with the Hattori family soon. The Ford Road Shaker suddenly turned into a courtyard and stopped in the yard. We're here, boss. Before getting out of the car, Charlotte saw several familiar faces through the window. Yelena, Erdamu, Saimu, and Alessio. Chapter 8:12. As night fell, the lights of New Delhi lit up the sky. The largest city in South Asia had a mix of ancient and modern atmosphere, giving it an exotic atmosphere. In a hotel in New Delhi, a woman with a headscarf dragged her suitcase to the door of a presidential suite. She used a room card to open the door and enter the room. A young man sat on the sofa in the living room. He was tall and had a cold expression. If Charlotte was here, He would recognize him at a glance. This Asian young man was none other than the killer from the Hattori family who had escaped the Battle of Tavong in Shi Province. He was Hattori Masao's illegitimate son, Hattori Tsukihito. The woman put down the lever of her suitcase. She untied the Muslim-style headscarf wrapped around her head, revealing her face. She was none other than my Hattori, who had spent several nights with Charlotte, but had not gotten anything from him. I don't understand why father sent you here, Hattori Tsukihito said. Hattori Tsukihito said. There was not a hint of affection in his voice, and his eyes were cold. My Hattori seemed to be used to his attitude. She said lightly, "Our informants in China haven't seen Charlotte for 2 days. I used our company's phone to call Charlotte. His secretary answered, but he said he was out on business. I asked when I could get in touch with him, but his secretary didn't give me a specific time. Also, Charlotte's phone was turned off. I had someone call him, but he couldn't get through." Hattori Tsukihito frowned. "Why are you telling me these trivial things? The details determine success or failure." My Hattori said. He disappeared inexplicably, and his phone was turned off. Even his secretary didn't know where he went or when he would return. This shows one thing. He doesn't want anyone to know where he went. Huh. Hattori Tsukihito sneered. He's a lecherous man with many women around him. He might have gone on a date with one of them. Or was he on vacation somewhere? Yet, you treated it as intelligence and even flew all the way from the United States to India. Are you and your father that worried about me? If that's your excuse for coming to India to spy on me, it's not necessary. It only amuses me. Why does everyone think he's a lecherous man? Isn't that so? You've slept with him before, so you should know better. Enough. My Hattori's expression changed, and so did her tone. I hate this attitude of yours the most. I did sleep with him, but it was for the benefit of the Hattori family. I'm a woman, and you're a man. The inheritance of the Hattori family will ultimately be passed down to you. You always see me as a threat to you. You're the funniest one. The corner of Hattori's mouth curled into a sneer. He was obviously dismissive of my Hattori's words. All right, I'll be frank. It's because I've slept with Charlotte that I know him better than you. That man is lecherous, but that's definitely not his weakness. It's a disguise that he purposely lets others see. I'm not interested in this nonsense. I've already met you, and I've completed my father's task. You could do whatever you want, but I'm telling you, don't interfere with my business. Hattori got up and prepared to leave. Stop, my Hattori shouted. Hattori looked coldly at my Hattori. The light in his eyes was as sharp as a knife's edge. My Hattori was fearless. Listen carefully. If you don't listen, you might die here, because Charlotte might be in New Delhi. Hattori was stunned. What did you say? Strong Biotech bought our best medical robot. Do you know who the woman in his lab is? Her name is Peaceful. She's an archaeologist in China. She has a certain amount of influence in the archaeology world. But that's not what caught my attention. What caught my attention was her relationship with Charlotte. She's also from Haizhu, China. When Charlotte started his business, she helped Charlotte. She and Charlotte have a good relationship. She disappeared for a long time, but when she reappeared, she was in Nahal's lab. What are you trying to say? Gu Qian's body is in Nahal's lab. Peaceful appeared, and I suspect that Charlotte is involved. Gu Qian was killed by Charlotte. That Indian wants to resurrect Gu Qian. In my opinion, it's a joke. Why would Charlotte be involved in this? That's simple. Take me to Nahal. I want to ask him where he got the money to buy the medical robot. I checked before I came. That guy looks good on the surface, but he's an unlucky guy who's about to go bankrupt. He doesn't have the money to buy our equipment, my Hattori said. Hattori asked in surprise. You mean to say that Xiaolei is the one who paid for it? Is he crazy? My Hattori said calmly. That's why I came to India. If Charlotte came to India, it would be our best chance to catch him. Take me to Nahal. I have a few questions to ask him. Hattori nodded. At the same time, in a dark and damp alley next to the headquarters of Strong Biotech. Akiko, are you sure we want to climb in from the outside wall? Charlotte looked up at the top of the building. He felt dizzy. He wasn't afraid of heights. He had the experience of climbing cliffs, but it was his first time climbing such a bare wall. Akiko Tsukino said, "You wait for me down there. I'll go up first." "How can I do that?" Charlotte said. Akiko Tsukino gently jumped up. She reached out and grabbed a crack in the bricks above her head. She pulled her arms up. Her body was like a gecko, clinging to the outer wall of the building. She climbed up with the help of the cracks in the bricks. Her speed was amazing. Charlotte suddenly realized. She was a ninja. What was he worried about? 20 minutes later, a rope dropped from the top floor. Charlotte easily climbed up to the top floor with the help of the rope and Akiko Tsukino. The wind on the top floor was strong. He could see far away. There was a helicopter landing pad on the roof, but no helicopter was parked there. There were no guards. There was only a closed iron gate that separated the top floor of the building from the rooftop. The iron gate was a heavy security door. It needed a password and a key to open it. However, this was not a problem for Xiaolei. He used an iron wire to open the lock that required a key. Then, he used his eyes to look at the traces on the keypad and deciphered the password. He didn't even use his hacking skills. Isn't the security level here too bad? I thought we needed to make a move, but there isn't even a security guard. Akiko Tsukino said. Charlotte said, that Har is about to go bankrupt. The security guards he hired from the security company are all on the 30th floor to protect his laboratory. It's normal for there to be no security here. Let's go down and take a look. But remember, if you need to make a move, try not to kill people. Just knock them out. The two entered the stairwell and walked down the stairs. Before he reached the corner, he could hear someone speaking in Hindi from below. If I don't get the money tomorrow, I'll quit. Didn't the boss say that he already got a sum of money? It's enough to pay our salaries. That guy's an idiot. This company was clearly created by him, but in the end, he didn't get anything. Although he owes me money, I also feel that it's unfair for him. My friend, there is no fairness in this world. The boss is good at scientific research, but he doesn't know how to do business. I'm not surprised by this result. Does he know how to do scientific research? I don't think so. I think he's dreaming. Resurrecting the dead. That's something that only God can do. What is he? He's just an idiot. This time it should be successful. Just in the evening when the shift was changing, I saw the woman in the glass container move. To be honest, I was scared at that time. Is that true? Are your eyes playing tricks on you? Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? The two Indians were talking to each other, completely unaware that someone was quietly approaching them. Two palm knives landed on the necks of the two security guards. Even after they fainted, they still didn't know what happened. Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino dragged the two fainted security guards to the staircase that led to the rooftop. Then, they entered the 30th floor of the building again. Charlotte's heart was also thinking back to the words of one of the security guards, and he felt a chill run down his spine. He had killed Gu Qin once. The grudge between them, the hatred between them, and all the grievances between them had actually come to an end on that snowy mountain in Tawang. Now, there was no longer any hatred for Gu Qin in his heart. However, if Gu Qin appeared before him again, regardless of whether the soul inside her body was Zhu Xianyue or him, it would still be a very scary feeling for him. A woman that you killed with your own hands suddenly reappeared in front of you, alive and well. How could you not feel horrified? As they approached the door of a laboratory, Akiko Tsukino subconsciously looked up at the surveillance camera installed above the lintel of the door. She looked a bit worried. Charlotte said in a low voice, "Don't worry. I've already fixed their surveillance system before coming here. The security guards in the monitoring room will only see what I want them to see. We're just air, so they can't see us at all." Akiko Tsukino smiled faintly, but no one knew what she was smiling about. The door of the laboratory required a password and a pass card to enter. Charlotte took off his backpack and then took out a decoder and connected it to the password. If it only required a password, he could do it with his eyes. However, this door also required a pass, so he had to use the equipment. A minute later, the closed door of the laboratory opened with a click. Charlotte quickly put away the decoder and then entered the laboratory with Akiko Tsukino. The laboratory was quiet. A few researchers were quietly doing their work. Some were operating the computer, some were operating the equipment, and some were changing the fluid for the two female corpses. There was also a female worker next to Peaceful. She was opening Peaceful's eyelids to check her pupils. No one noticed that Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino had entered the laboratory. Chapter 8:13. Charlotte's gaze moved to the huge glass container, and he could no longer look away. He had looked at the glass container several times, but it was always through the monitor, so he couldn't use his X-ray vision at all. Now, his left eye twitched slightly, and the vision of his left eye suddenly dispersed the fog that was blocking his vision, and he finally saw the face that was soaked in the blood-colored liquid. When he saw the face clearly, his mind suddenly went blank. His previous guess was right. The woman in the glass container was Gu Kyun. Her face no longer had the calmness before she died, and there was no trace of a serene smile on her face. Her body was covered with patches connected to wires, and there was also a catheter to transport the liquid. She looked like a resurrected zombie in Frankenstein's laboratory, and her skin was pale without a trace of blood. At this moment, Gu Kyun's fingers suddenly moved slightly. Charlotte was so shocked that his mouth opened, and he couldn't close it. Previously, he didn't really believe the security guard's words, but seeing it with his own eyes was a different matter. Akiko Tsukino nudged Charlotte, and then walked towards a researcher. Charlotte suddenly came back to his senses, and he grabbed Akiko Tsukino. He knew what she was going to do, but it was obviously not a good idea. Akiko Tsukino turned around to look at Charlotte, and she had a puzzled look on her face. There were only a few weak researchers in this laboratory, so wouldn't it be over if she took care of them? When that time came, she could do whatever she wanted, and there would be no trouble at all. However, Charlotte stopped her and didn't let her do what she thought she had to do. There's no need to hurt them. Let them continue working, Charlotte whispered in Akiko Tsukino's ear, and then walked towards a glass container. Akiko Tsukino had a lot of questions in her head that she couldn't understand, but she wouldn't do what Charlotte didn't want her to do. She hesitated for a moment before following Charlotte to the huge glass container. At that moment, a woman spotted Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino. She left her post and walked towards them, saying in Hindi, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Akiko Tsukino stepped forward, ready to attack. Charlotte took 2 quick steps and stood in front of Akiko Tsukino, saying in Japanese, "We are from the Vico Corporation. We have obtained permission." The Indian woman shook her head, indicating that she did not understand. Charlotte spoke again in English. "Madam, can you understand English?" The Indian woman nodded and said in English, "English is one of our 2 official languages. Of course I can understand it." After a pause, she said, "I just asked you, why are you here? Also, who are you?" "We're the staff of the Vico Corporation. We're here to provide after-sales service. We have a very complete after-sales service system. We were worried that you wouldn't be able to use our machines, so we rushed over to see if there was anything we could help with. We have obtained permission from Mr. Howe, and he gave us the password and pass card," Charlotte said, but he didn't take out anything like a pass card. He was just saying it. Akiko Tsukino finally understood Charlotte's idea. Some things didn't have to be solved with fists or weapons. Sometimes a clever idea could make things simpler and easier. So that's how it is. Your intelligent robot has indeed brought us some trouble. Just translating the manual took us a lot of time, but it's far from enough. It's too expensive, so we don't dare to try it. You came at the right time. Can you demonstrate it to us? The Indian woman looked at Charlotte expectantly. Akiko Tsukino couldn't help but look at Charlotte. She couldn't help but feel nervous. If Charlotte couldn't demonstrate how to operate the Vico Corporation's intelligent robot to these researchers, wouldn't they be exposed on the spot? Charlotte seemed very relaxed. "Of course, no problem. This is our job. By the way, lady, are you the person in charge here?" "Yes, I'm Salman." The Indian woman who called herself Salman extended a hand to Charlotte. "Sir, you are?" "Il Hattori." Charlotte casually said a name and shook hands with Salman. He then introduced Akiko Tsukino. "She's my assistant. You can call her Yamaki." "Hello, Miss Yamaki." Salman shook hands with Akiko Tsukino again. "Hello, Ms. Salman." Akiko Tsukino was very polite. Salman brought Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino to the back of the huge glass container. Behind it, Charlotte saw the Vico Corporation's medical intelligent robot. It wasn't like those robots in sci-fi movies, but a bed that patients could lie on for surgery. It had a control computer, a mechanical arm, and a lot of auxiliary equipment. It looked very complicated and exquisite. Charlotte exclaimed in his heart. No wonder it costs $5 million US. It's worth the price. Japan's artificial intelligence technology is really amazing. The gap between us and Japan is really too big. Then he laughed inexplicably. But this gap will disappear soon. Mr. Yafu, wait a moment. I'll get you the test robot sample, Salman said. Charlotte said, go. I'll make the preparations first. After Salman left, Charlotte nimbly unloaded his backpack and took out his hacker's computer from it. Salman hadn't even walked 10 meters when he connected Divine Hand to its main control computer. Divine Hand was the name that Vico Corporation had given to this medical intelligent robot. The hacker's computer quickly operated and copied the software and control program from Divine Hand. Charlotte's left, I wasn't idle either. He could see through the structure of this medical intelligent robot. What Charlotte was best at wasn't actually using a sniper rifle to kill people, nor was it designing weapons. It was taking other people's technology and making it his own, and then improving it to make it more perfect and powerful. Boss, what are you doing? Akiko Tsukino didn't understand. Charlotte smiled. How can we not share good things? Since we're here, we should get something. Don't worry about it. Don't make a sound later, just watch. Akiko Tsukino nodded. 5 minutes later, Charlotte put his hacker's computer into his backpack. Not long after, Salman pushed a surgical trolley over. On the cart was a man's corpse. He was very fat and had no clothes. He had probably been in the cold storage room, and his skin was still covered in frost. It looked hard and disgusting. Seeing the corpse on the cart, Charlotte immediately understood what Salman was talking about as a test robot specimen. As expected of an underground black lab, even a specimen like this could be pushed out so openly. Salman pushed the corpse to Divine Hand's side. Can any of you help me carry this guy to the machine? We're too short on manpower. I can't even find someone to do this. I'll do it. Akiko Tsukino walked over and helped Salman carry the corpse to Divine Hand's operating table. Charlotte walked to Divine Hand's operating table. Miss Salman, what kind of demonstration do you want me to do? His cervical vertebra was broken by us. I want you to operate the machine to repair the nerves in his cervical vertebra, Salman said. Charlotte frowned. He's already dead. How can we do this kind of surgery? Salman said, don't worry about that. Just give me a demonstration. All right, no problem. Charlotte entered the command on the main control computer. Just now, when the hacker's computer was stealing Divine Hand's related programs and software, he had also learned how Divine Hand operated in that short amount of time. Divine Hand's operation was actually very simple. All he needed to do was enter the relevant commands. Artificial intelligence, to put it bluntly, was dumb intelligence. The main purpose of this kind of technology was to use intelligent robots to replace humans in certain specific environments. If it still required humans to carry out complicated operations, then it would not be considered artificial intelligence. Charlotte entered the commands, and Divine Hand quickly carried them out. The operating table fixed the corpse in place, and the robotic arm responsible for the operation made a small incision on the back of the corpse's neck. Then, a metal tube was inserted into the neck of the corpse. The main control computer displayed a set of images of the nerves being repaired using a type of biological material. This process looked like using a welding torch to weld a broken steel plate. My God, that's amazing, Salman exclaimed. Charlotte said, its operation is actually very simple. After all, it's artificial intelligence. Right, Miss Salman, are you planning to use this robot to repair the nerves in the neck of the woman in the glass container? Yes, this is our science experiment. That's all I can tell you. Don't ask anything else. Salman's eyes carried a hint of caution. Charlotte smiled. This is no secret. Mr. Hal talked to me about his Samsara project. We're very interested and prepared to invest in a laboratory. I also know that he plans to resurrect the woman in the glass container. Am I right? You? Why would he tell you all this? Salman looked a little depressed. Charlotte said, "There are no real secrets in this world, Miss Salman. I also know that Mr. Hal is in some trouble now. Your laboratory might even be chased out of here. Without an investor, how are you going to continue your research?" He really did tell you everything, but I understand him. He sacrificed too much for this laboratory. If we're to be shut down, it would be worse than killing him. Since our two companies are about to become partners, Ms. Salman, can't you tell me when you're going to operate on that woman and how you're going to resurrect her? Charlotte said. All right, I can tell you, Salman said. We're actually already prepared. We're just waiting for your AI robot. Since you've already given us a demonstration, I'm going to operate on her tonight. Then how are you going to resurrect her? That's a very complicated matter. Even if I explained it to you, you wouldn't understand. If you're interested, you can stay here and watch, Salman said. Tonight, just in time. Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino couldn't help but look at each other. Chapter 814. The Samsara project had existed for 15 years, and Hal had invested a huge amount of money and energy into it, but it had never succeeded. As the person in charge of this underground black lab, how could Salman not be aware of this possibility? But she clearly knew that it had never succeeded, so why did she seem so confident this time? Charlotte couldn't help but think about this question. I'll give Mr. Hal a call. He should be able to witness the birth of this miracle. Salman took out her phone, ready to make the call. Charlotte suddenly grabbed her hand. No need to call him. I think it's better to give him a surprise. Salman frowned. Mr. Hal has been waiting for this moment his whole life, and you want me to give him a surprise? You Japanese are really weird. What makes you think I'd do that? Because we're investors, Charlotte said. Oomph. You arrogant Japanese. I'll call Mr. Hal right now. You can either leave or shut your mouth and stay obediently. Let go of my hand, or I'll call security to escort you out. Salman was no longer polite. Charlotte let go of her hand, but at the same time, he snatched her phone away. What do you want? Salman was angry. Get out. Charlotte picked up his backpack from the ground, unzipped it, and took out a stack of $100 bills. And it wasn't a small stack, but a big one. It was at least $50,000 to $60,000. Salman was stunned. Charlotte said calmly, I don't know how long it's been since you've received a salary from Hal. This is $50,000. It can make your life better. I'll tell you the truth. After this experiment, this lab will be finished. Hal may fulfill his life's wish, but what will you get? You won't get anything, and you'll even lose your job. Salman hesitated. She looked at the stack of dollars in Charlotte's hands, unable to hide the excitement and greed in her eyes. The income of Indians was only 1/10 of that of China. 20% of Indians earned less than $2 a day, and most earned less than $10 a day. Although she did not fall into either of those categories, her salary was not high. Hal's offer for her was no more than $30 a day. She would need to work for 5 years to earn the money that Charlotte gave her, and this was under the condition that Hart did not go bankrupt. But the problem was that Hal was going to go bankrupt. Can't this money buy Mr. Hal a surprise? Charlotte smiled. Aren't you going to buy a surprise for Mr. Hart? What the hell do you want? Also, who are you? Salman was not a gullible woman. Charlotte said, do you want answers or money? Salman's lips moved, but he did not speak. It seems that you want both. Charlotte said, all right, I'll tell you the truth. I'm actually the CEO of Vico Corporation. I'm an investor, but I don't believe in your experiment. Mr. Hal talked to me about his reincarnation project, but it's so unrealistic that I don't believe he can do it. That's why I'm here. I want to see for myself if you can bring the dead back to life. If you can do it, I'll set up a new lab and invite you to work in my lab. I'll give you a better working environment and better pay. This is the answer you want. Now it's time for you to make a decision. Akiko Tsukino's hand moved to her back, and a shuriken slipped out of her sleeve. As long as Salman said no, she would give him a choice. Salman hesitated. I also want to give $50,000 to the others. They haven't received their salary for 2 months. No problem. Charlotte took out a stack of new dollars from his backpack. He handed the 2 stacks to Salman. I have a request. When you give them the money, take their phones and give them to me. Then you can start the experiment. All right, Mr. Yafu. Salman smiled. She still could not correctly pronounce the name Yafu. Salman had hidden the $50,000 in her clothes before he left. He would only take the $50,000 to split the money, and she would also get a portion of the money. Akiko Tsukino watched Salman, who was splitting the money, and said to Charlotte, "Boss, do you always bring a lot of cash with you?" Charlotte smiled. "Sometimes money is better than guns. I know you wanted to kill that Indian woman, but if you kill her, who's going to do the experiment? She worked for Hal for money. If I give her more money, she'll work for me. What you say makes sense, but I don't think your $100,000 can buy you the result you want. Dead people are dead. There's no possibility of resurrection. The people here, including Hal, don't live a whimsical Frankenstein life. Even if it fails, it doesn't matter. Just treat it as watching a fireworks show." Akiko Tsukino was speechless. Not many people could understand the world of the rich. Salman quickly convinced the other workers in the lab. They agreed to start the reincarnation experiment immediately and handed over their phones. On one side was a boss who hadn't been paid for 2 months, and on the other side was cash that could only be earned for a few years. Anyone in their right mind would make such a choice. Moreover, the person who bribed them didn't have any bad intentions. He just wanted to see them do the experiment. Who wouldn't want to earn this kind of money? Under Salman's command, almost all the equipment in the lab was activated. Gu Qiuan's body was fished out of the glass container and placed on the Holy Hands operating table. Salman personally operated the Holy Hands to repair the damaged nerves in Gu Qiuan's neck. He understood after seeing it once. One had to admit that Salman's ability to understand was very high. Just as the Holy Hands was repairing Gu Qiuan's neck nerves, Charlotte couldn't help but reach out to touch Gu Qiuan's calf. It was this touch that stunned him on the spot. Gu Qiuan's calf muscles were still elastic and warm. It didn't feel like a corpse at all. Under normal circumstances, after being dead for so long, her skin and muscles should have lost their elasticity long ago. Charlotte moved to another corner of the lab and came before the 2 female corpses. The 2 female corpses didn't have a single piece of cloth on them. Their bodies had an exciting sense of beauty. They didn't look like corpses, but 2 beautiful pieces of art. Charlotte couldn't help but be curious. He reached out to touch the calf of the blonde female corpse again. It was soft and elastic, and it still had a normal temperature. He then touched the Asian female corpse, and the result was the same. How is this possible? Xiaolei was shocked. His gaze moved to Peaceful's body, and he quickly walked over to her. Peaceful was lying quietly on the cold operating table. Her body was connected to the same wires and catheters as the 2 female corpses. Unlike the female corpse, her chest was rising and falling. That was a natural reaction to breathing. She was alive, and her skin and muscles were like a normal person's. They were warm and elastic. Even though he knew that, Charlotte couldn't help but pinch her arm. He thought to himself, what role is she playing in this experiment? Reincarnation was the future of the dead. She was a living person. Why would she be reincarnated? "Sir, please don't touch them," a researcher said to Charlotte. Charlotte came back to himself. He nodded. "I'm just curious. When will you start?" After Ms. Salman finishes repairing the nerves of the female corpse, the researcher said, "She is the core. We can't do without her." "What's going on with her?" Charlotte pointed at Peaceful. "She is a living person. What role is she playing in this experiment?" "A shaman," the researcher said. The researcher said, "In our Hinduism, her role is to communicate with God. From a scientific point of view, she is a stimulant or conductor." "Stimulant? Conductor? What does she need? What does she need to conduct?" Charlotte asked 4 questions in one breath. She needs to stimulate the soul's reaction and channel the energy that the soul needs. That is what the reincarnation experiment is doing. "Sir, don't worry. Just watch." The researcher didn't seem to want to talk to Charlotte. He gave a rough explanation and left. Although the explanation was rough, Charlotte had his own understanding. This reincarnation experiment was an experiment to revive the soul. They preserved the body and used medical methods to make the body as close to a living person's body as possible. Then, they used some special methods to awaken the soul and achieve the goal of resurrection. Resurrection of the dead was not rare in the history of medicine. There are many examples, but that only applied to people who had been dead for a few minutes. After that time, the dead could not come back to life. In terms of the soul, it was an even more vague theory. Until now, no one had been able to prove the existence of the soul. The concept of the soul only existed in religion and literature. From a scientific point of view, the soul did not exist. So, how could something that did not exist be brought back to life by scientific means? Wait, just as Charlotte was about to reject this analysis based on his understanding, he thought of a special existence. If there is no soul, then what is Yongmei Princess Zhu Xianwei? At this moment, Salman walked over. Mr. Yafu, I have already repaired her nerves. We're going to start the experiment now. Charlotte collected his messy thoughts. Then let's start. I can't wait to witness this miracle. You will, because we will definitely succeed this time. Salman seemed very confident. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. You have failed for 15 years. Why do you think you will succeed this time? Salman hesitated for a moment, then moved closer to Charlotte's ear and whispered, For the sake of the money, I will tell you a secret. What secret? Chapter 8:15. Mr. Second Father, Salman's voice was small. Do you believe in God? Yes, I'm a Buddhist, Charlotte said. Do you believe in the existence of God in this world? Of course I do. God created everything, including me, Charlotte said, looking serious. Then let me tell you, before this experiment, Mr. Nahar and I both heard the voice of God. The voice of God? Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. What did it say? The voice of God guided Mr. Nahar to the southern border and found this woman's body. At first, I didn't believe it was true. I even suspected that Mr. Nahar was driven mad by the terrible situation. But we went to the snow mountain and really found the woman's body. Do you know, she had been dead for a few days, but she was still warm. Snowflakes fell on her face and melted. At that moment, I believed that there was a God in this world. Charlotte was stunned. He had been wondering why Gu Qian's body had come here, and now Salman gave him the answer. Salman said that this was the guidance of God, but he knew that the voice Nahar heard was just Zhu Xuanyue's voice, just like how she controlled Ning Jing to do what she wanted. This was not the guidance of God, but Zhu Xianyue controlling Nahar and even Salman. I knelt beside her. I worshipped her. Then I heard the voice of God. Salman's eyes were full of piety, and she looked very strange. What did you hear? She told me that a blonde European woman would die, and an Asian woman with black hair would die. She told me the location and told me to bring back the bodies. The voice you heard, was it the voice of a God? Charlotte was going to say woman, but he changed his words. Yes, it was the voice of goddess. The bodies she told you to bring back were the bodies of those two women. Charlotte pointed at the two women's bodies. Salman said, Yes, the corpses of the two women. I can't explain it all, but as soon as I followed her directions to the location, the blonde European woman and the brunette Asian woman arrived in separate cars. Then, they died in front of me. I don't know what happened to them, but they just died painlessly and suddenly. Charlotte said in surprise, Is no one suspicious? Or do something, like calling an ambulance or something. You've never been there. You don't understand the situation. That place was desolate and uninhabited. Even the nearest village was an hour's drive away. Apart from me, no one else discovered them. An image appeared in Xia Lei's mind. A blonde European woman and a black-haired Asian woman, driven to a barren land from who knows where, and then mysteriously died. It gave him the feeling that these two women had come all the way here to offer their corpses. Just thinking about such a scene made his hair stand on end. I drove a freezer car, so I took their corpses with me. They're the clothes that God needs. Clothes? Is that what God said? Of course, the female corpses here are her clothes. Charlotte was shocked. His mind was blank, and he could not think straight. At this time, the two researchers had already moved Gu Qian's body into a glass container. Her body was covered with patches with wires and tubes for liquid. Mr. Mai, it's time to witness a miracle. Salman walked toward the machine that looked like the engine of a large bomber. For some reason, Xiaolei felt nervous and conflicted at the same time. He did not want to see Gu Qian return to the human world, but he also wanted to witness this miracle. But just as Salman was about to start the strange machine, Charlotte suddenly thought of something, and his gaze moved to Ning Jing. He didn't know those two women, nor did he care about their fates. But Ning Jing was different. She was his friend and innocent. If she were to become a piece of clothing for Zhu Xianyue, that would be too cruel. Wait, Charlotte quickly walked towards Ning Jing. She can't join. Stop. What are you doing? Salman chased after him. Charlotte reached out and grabbed a patch on Ning Jing's forehead. I said, she can't join. Who are you? Salman's eyes were full of suspicion and vigilance. Charlotte scolded himself in his heart. Because he was worried about Ning Jing's fate, he had forgotten that he was playing the role of a Japanese person. Moreover, it was impossible for him to know Ning Jing. Since he did not know her, why would he stop her from joining the reincarnation experiment? If you think you can stop this miracle by giving me some money, then you are very wrong. As she spoke, Salman's eyes suddenly became strange, giving people a feeling of emptiness and numbness. After a moment, an unfamiliar voice came from her mouth. Go. It's dangerous. Charlotte said in surprise. What did you say? Who are you? It's dangerous. Go. The unfamiliar voice that came from Salman's mouth was full of anxiety. In fact, when she said the first time, Charlotte had heard it clearly. This voice made his mind fly back to Paris, France. That night in my Hattori's villa, he received a call and an unfamiliar woman's voice that warned him of danger. It was also that time that he met an unprecedented opponent and almost died there. The same voice appeared again. Did that mean that the strange existence had come to New Delhi? Start the machine. It was Salman's voice. Her voice had returned to normal. A researcher quickly started the strange machine that looked like a bomber engine. The laboratory was suddenly filled with a humming sound, like the sound of wind in a deep valley, but also like the sound of wind in a mass grave. It made people feel like they were crying ghosts and howling wolves. Amidst this strange and terrifying sound, streaks of blue electric arcs leaped out of the machine like snakes. They followed the wires and entered the large glass container. Gu Qian's body suddenly trembled. Then, the blue electric arcs separated from the glass container and entered the blonde woman's body, the black-haired woman's body, and Ning Jing's body. In that moment of hesitation, a snake-like blue electric arc suddenly came from the wires. Charlotte, who was holding the patch, did not let go in time and was electrocuted. It was also in that moment that he lost control of his body. The strong electric current bounced him away, and he fell heavily to the ground. Akiko Tsukino flew over and asked anxiously, "What happened to you? Are you okay?" "Hey." Charlotte shook his head hard. His mind was clear, but his body was still in a state of paralysis. He could not get up at all. "Mr. Second Father, I'm warning you. You can either stay here obediently or get out," Salman said rudely. "Idiot." Akiko Tsukino glared at Salman. A shuriken slid from her sleeve into her palm. As long as she raised her hand, the shuriken would pierce Salman's heart or her forehead. But just as she was about to do so, Charlotte's body had already regained its ability to move. He grabbed Akiko Tsukino's hand and said, "Let's get out of here." Akiko Tsukino looked at Charlotte in surprise. "Get out of here?" She did not understand why Charlotte would make such a decision. He climbed 30 floors and spent $100,000. Wasn't it all to solve the mystery of the reincarnation experiment? The mystery was about to be solved, but now he wanted to leave this place. She did not understand why. Charlotte did not explain. He got up from the ground, grabbed his backpack, and walked toward the door. "Mr. Second Father, this is your decision. I won't refund your money," Salman said. At this time, she seemed to have returned to her original self, greedy and cunning. "You can keep the money. I only hope that you can keep the secret that I came here. Otherwise, the money will leave your pockets," Charlotte said. Of course, no problem. A sly smile appeared on Salmon's face. She would not be so stupid as to give away the money that she had put in her pocket. Charlotte's gaze moved to Ning Jing's body. Her body trembled on the cold operating table, and her hair stood up one by one. Her eyes were completely white, and there was not a single trace of black in them. She looked very scary. Charlotte sighed in his heart. I'm sorry. I can't take you away in this situation. I hope you'll be fine. Take care. He hardened his heart and looked away. Then he walked towards the door of the laboratory. In fact, if he wanted to take Ning Jing away by force, these researchers would not be able to stop him. But he knew that he could not do that. First, he did not know what would happen if he suddenly stopped the reincarnation experiment. Second, he was now sure that this matter was related to Zhu Xianwei. He could not interfere with Zhu Xuanyue's affairs, because if she wanted Ning Jing to die, it would be useless even if he took Ning Jing away now. But just as he was about to reach the door, Ngimi Khan's voice suddenly came from the micro-receiver hidden in his ear. Boss, someone entered the building. Who? Japanese and that Nahar. They have a lot of people. You and Akiko should leave quickly. We can only use our firepower when we are outside, Anjum Khan urged. Got it. Prepare to retreat. Charlotte's voice was low and cold. Retreat? Ngimi Khan's voice was full of surprise. That's right. Prepare to retreat. Charlotte repeated his order. It was not the Japanese that worried and scared him, but that horrible existence. Normal people could not fight with it, just like how no one could fight with Zhu Xianwei. Okay, we'll wait for you outside. Ngumi Khan ended the call. Charlotte reached out and grabbed the door handle. Suddenly, the lights in the laboratory went out. Chapter 816. The power went out, and all the machines stopped working. The laboratory was pitch black, and one couldn't even see their fingers. There was also no sound. In this short period of time, it was as if the whole world had stopped. But this silence was soon broken. What's going on? Why is there a power outage? Salman's voice was heard. We have a dedicated power supply here. Why would there be a power outage? I don't know. I'll turn on a backup power, someone said. He and Salman were both speaking in Hindi. Charlotte quickly pushed open the door and left the laboratory. As he ran to the stairs leading to the rooftop, he took out something from his backpack. Akiko Tsukino chased after Charlotte and asked, Boss, there's a power outage. Aren't you worried about the results of the experiment? With a light snap, a beam of light appeared in Charlotte's hand. It was the light of a tactical flashlight. What are you doing? Akiko Tsukino looked very nervous. Quickly extinguish it. Using a flashlight in this kind of environment will make us a target. Charlotte's expression went from nervous to relaxed. Don't ask. Follow me. We have to get out of here. Akiko Tsukino's heart was full of doubts, but Charlotte didn't want to explain. In this kind of environment, she couldn't ask anymore. She followed Charlotte into the corridor and quickly arrived at the rooftop. On the rooftop, Charlotte was surprised to find that not only the building had a power outage, but there wasn't a single light in this area. The dark clouds in the sky shrouded the earth, and there was no light in sight. It was pitch black. This kind of scene gave people the feeling that the end of the world was coming, and it was frightening. How could this be? Akiko Tsukino obviously didn't expect this either, and was very surprised. Don't worry about it. Let's go. Charlotte quickly walked to the edge of the rooftop. With the help of the tactical flashlight, he found the rope. The rope was still hanging on the outer wall. One end of the rope was tied to the base of a lightning rod, and the other end was hanging along the outer wall of the building into the alley. You go down first, said Charlotte. If you want to go down, I'll bring up the rear. Akiko Tsukino said. Hurry up, Charlotte shouted. Now is not the time to be polite. Quickly go down. Also, turn on your flashlight. Akiko Tsukino shrugged. When have you ever seen a ninja use a flashlight? In a sense, a ninja was synonymous with stealth and assassination. The darker the environment, the more advantageous it was for a ninja. If a ninja used a flashlight in a dark environment, would he still be able to hide and assassinate the target? That scene would definitely be hilarious. However, Charlotte couldn't bring himself to laugh. The feeling of impending danger suddenly assaulted him, and it was extremely intense. This feeling was exactly the same as when he was in my Hattori's villa in Paris. Fortunately, Akiko Tsukino did not delay. She grabbed the rope hanging on the wall and slid down. Her speed was very fast, and in less than 10 seconds, she slid down from the 30-story building into the alley. Charlotte also grabbed the rope and prepared to slide down. However, just as he was about to jump off the rooftop, he heard a whistling sound in his ears, and then the tactical flashlight in his hand was hit. The glass cover of the tactical flashlight suddenly shattered, and the light bulb inside also broke. At that moment, he felt like a bullet had hit his tactical flashlight, and the impact made his hand numb. Whoosh! It was the sound of an object moving at high speed in the air. It was so fast that it was invisible to the naked eye. Before Charlotte could react, the rope in his hand suddenly became light, and the rope hanging on the outer wall of the building fell down. It wasn't the rope that broke, but the only way to leave. Fear suddenly rose to the peak, and Charlotte suddenly looked to the right of his body, which was the direction of the stairs. The anti-theft door was closed, but there was a man in a black robe standing at the door. His face could not be seen, and his hands could not be seen. He was like an Arab robe hanging in the air, not a human. The moment he saw the man in the black robe, Charlotte's legs suddenly kicked the ground, and his body used the rebound force to jump back. At the same time, he pulled out his gun, moved his arm horizontally, and fired at the man in the black robe in an instant. The Viper pistol in his hand was equipped with a silencer, so the gunshot was very quiet. The speed of the bullet was also very fast. At such a close distance, it was almost impossible for the man in the black robe to avoid the shot. However, the man in the black robe still dodged, and he only dodged after he fired the shot. Ding! The bullet hit the steel plate of the anti-theft door, causing a burst of sparks. The man in the black robe suddenly moved, and with a whoosh, he rushed toward Charlotte. Charlotte's fingers moved, and in the blink of an eye, he fired 7 or 8 shots. The man in the black robe swayed left and right, easily avoiding the bullets, completely violating the laws of physics. His body seemed to be the weight of a robe, negligible, and the gravity of the earth did not exist to him at all. However, there was still a bullet that hit his chest. That was the last shot that Charlotte had fired. He saw with his own eyes that the black robe of the man in the black robe had been pierced by the bullet, but there was not a single drop of blood. When the bullet pierced through the black robe, he saw the black robe float backward, but it recovered after a long time. He did not have a real body. He was the same existence as Zhu Xianwei. Perhaps he was stronger than Zhu Xianwei. These thoughts flashed through Charlotte's mind, but before he could come to a more comprehensive conclusion, the man in the black robe was already in front of him. The speed of the man in the black robe was not a speed that humans could understand. Although Charlotte's evolution was close to perfection, and his speed and reflexes were outstanding among all humans, in front of the man in the black robe, he was still extremely slow. Before the smoke from a muzzle had been blown away by the wind, Charlotte's neck had already been grabbed by the man in the black robe. He felt the cloth come out, but he could not feel the existence of the hand. It was also at this moment that a strange force came from the black cloth, immediately throwing him to the ground. The distance between them was so close, but Xiale still couldn't see his face. His left eye couldn't see through anything either. Am I going to die? This thought suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind. Despair and fear attacked him at the same time, and he could not see a trace of hope. However, just when he thought that the man in the black robe would immediately kill him, the other party did not do anything. There seemed to be a pair of inky black eyes staring at him from a black hood. That gaze seemed to be able to devour the moon and stars. But that was just an illusion. In reality, there was only an extremely deep black under the black hood, and apart from black, there was nothing else. Who are you? Charlotte probed, his voice trembling. The man in the black robe did not answer his question, but used his other hand to grab the alloy pendant hanging around his neck. He seemed to be looking at the alloy pendant. Do you want it? If you want it, then take it. I am not your enemy. Charlotte said. Between his life and the last AE capsule, he would rather choose the former. The man in the black robe put down the alloy pendant, and even more strangely, he let go of the hand that was strangling Charlotte's neck. You? Charlotte was stunned. He thought that the other party would not hesitate to break his neck, but the other party let go of him, and now he did not know what was going on. No wonder, you have a little left. The voice of the man in the black robe was cold, hoarse, and low, without the slightest hint of human. But what shocked Charlotte was that he actually used Chinese. You? Who are you? Charlotte asked, holding back the shock and fear in his heart. This was the second time he asked this question. The answer is on you, he said. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. What kind of answer was that? I will not kill you, because the answer is on you. What do you mean? What answer? Everything has a beginning and an end. Maybe this time we can see that end, he said. What end? You said the answer is on me. Can you give me a hint? Charlotte said carefully. But at this moment, the man in the black robe suddenly moved to the staircase, and then said, Damn, she is always causing trouble. Charlotte's gaze also moved to the anti-theft door, his left eye slightly twitching, but he did not see anything. Behind the anti-theft door was only an empty staircase. Ah! A scream suddenly came from downstairs. It was Salman's voice. Did something happen in the lab? Charlotte suddenly climbed up from the ground. 3 years. Give me the answer, and then I will kill you, he said. Who are you? Charlotte's heart was filled with anger. This was equivalent to giving him a 3-year reprieve, 3 years later, and there was a restriction that the sentence could not be reduced. I have no bad intentions. Charlotte was so angry that he laughed. You said you will kill me in 3 years, and you say you have no bad intentions? You will understand. Who are you? What do you want? Charlotte could not control his emotions. He was a little out of control. Be careful. You are not as smart as I thought, he said. In his eyes, a person with an IQ of 998 was not smart enough. Then in his eyes, what kind of person was smart? Before Charlotte could think in this direction, the man in the black robe suddenly moved horizontally, and, in the blink of an eye, he jumped down from the side of the roof. He followed to the edge of the roof and looked down. At that moment, he saw a black shadow plunge into the lab on the top of the building. In that instant, the tempered glass was as fragile as tofu, shattering with a crash. What is he doing? Is he going to stop Zhu Xuanyue's plan? Charlotte suddenly thought of this and rushed to the anti-theft door. He keyed in the password and the steel wire to open the lock. The whole process only took him about 10 seconds. He pushed open the anti-theft door, but just as he was about to rush down, a loud explosion came from below. The shockwave of the explosion carried glass, metal, and wood fragments from the stairs, and it instantly knocked him to the ground. That night, the man in the black robe's target did not appear to be him, but Zhu Xianyue. Serenity. The moment the explosion occurred, Charlotte was not worried about Zhu Xianyue, nor was it Gu Qian, but the quiet and pitiful woman. Boom! Another loud explosion that shook the whole building. The light from the fire reflected the sky red. Strangely, the area suddenly had electricity. The explosion earlier appeared to be a power switch, and it was purposely sending electricity. Chapter 817. Thick smoke billowed up from the staircase, carrying with it the pungent smell of chemicals. Charlotte accidentally inhaled, and the smell immediately stimulated his respiratory system. He couldn't help but cough twice. Boss, what happened? Akiko Tsukino's voice came through the mini receiver in his ear. It was full of anxiety and worry. Charlotte grabbed the mini communicator hidden in his collar. He was about to speak, but he found that it was broken. He didn't know if the black robe man had crushed it when he was pressed to the ground, or if the explosion had shattered it, but he knew that he could no longer command the Zodiac squad through it. Boss, answer me. Angumi Khan's voice was also very anxious. F***CK. Charlotte angrily pulled out the broken mini communicator and threw it on the ground. Then he got up from the ground and rushed into the staircase. At this time, retreating was the wisest choice, but when he thought of the poor Serenity, he made the opposite decision. He still had a glimmer of hope in his heart, which was that Serenity might have survived the explosion. Although this glimmer of hope was very slim, he didn't want to give up, because he knew that if he was lying on the cold operating table, Peaceful would do the same thing he was doing now. She would rush in to save him regardless of anything. Thick smoke billowed in the 30th floor, and the pungent toxic gas filled every inch of the space. Charlotte's gaze passed through the thick smoke and saw the elevator door at the end of the corridor open and then close. At the same time, a shadow appeared at the staircase, but it only appeared for a moment and then retreated. "Get the gas mask. Hurry up." A voice came from the staircase. Then there was the sound of people rushing down the stairs. Charlotte had already adapted to the toxic gas. When he first came in, he felt that it was difficult to breathe, but his body quickly adapted. It was the activation of his body's almost abnormal immune system. He could move freely in such an environment that was shrouded in toxic gas, but others couldn't. This was an opportunity. Charlotte quickly rushed to the laboratory. The door to the laboratory had been blown away, and the floor was littered with metal, glass, electronic components, and human flesh. There was not a single person standing in the laboratory, not even a complete person. The floor of the laboratory was littered with pieces of flesh, bones, and even organs. The machine, which looked like a bomber engine, had disappeared, its parts and fragments lying everywhere. The huge glass container had also disappeared, and the floor of the laboratory was covered with glass shards and blood-red liquid. Gu Qian's body was gone, and so were the bodies of the European woman and the Asian woman. The flesh and blood on the ground were either theirs or the researchers'. In short, the laboratory looked like a charade on Earth. It was too horrible to look at. Charlotte's eyes moved to where Peaceful was. He saw a surgery bed that had been flipped over. A white object entered his line of sight, and he was momentarily stunned. Was that her? But he didn't dare to use his X-ray vision on the operating table. He was afraid to see tranquility with only one but left. He didn't even want to imagine that scene. After hesitating for a moment, he walked over and lifted the operating table that had fallen to the ground. He glanced at it, and he immediately let out a sigh of relief. The white thing he had seen was Peaceful, and it was not just her, but she was curled up on the ground, and her body was dripping with blood. She was like a newborn baby. This was a miracle. She was the only complete person in the laboratory. Other than her, there was not a single complete machine, let alone a human. Charlotte turned her over one by one, and his heart was about to break. Peaceful was lying in a pool of blood. Her body was intact, but her face was a bloody mess. It was almost impossible to tell that it was her face. Peaceful, wake up. Charlotte shook her shoulder. Cough, cough. Peaceful's throat suddenly had the sound of coughing. Then, she opened her mouth and took a deep breath. She was still alive. Charlotte didn't dare stay any longer. He picked Peaceful up and quickly ran to the door of the laboratory. Footsteps came from the corridor, and there was the sound of people talking. Why did this place explode? Someone in the thick smoke asked in Japanese. I don't know, but I hope the kid is in the lab. I want to be blown up, someone said. No one can confirm that he is in the lab. The Indian can only prove that the kid paid for the experiment. Through the archaeologist called Ling Jing. No matter what, this is related to him, someone said. The lab is in front. Be careful. There is poison in the air here, someone warned. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. The people from the Hattori family were here, and this was the worst time for them to be here. F***. Charlotte cursed under his breath. He took a deep breath and suddenly rushed out of the door of the lab with Peaceful in his arms. He ran toward the stairs that led to the rooftop. The thick smoke after the explosion blocked people's vision, but it could not cover the sound of their feet. Charlotte was holding Peaceful in his arms, and the corridor was full of glass shards. His feet ran down the corridor, and the crackling sound was enough to wake up people who were asleep, let alone the people from the Hattori family, who were very alert. There is someone in front of us, someone screamed. Who is it? Stop, someone yelled. Baka. If you don't stop, I will shoot. Someone pulled the bolt of a gun in the thick smoke. Charlotte did not hesitate or stop. Just as the person was about to yell at him, he rushed into the stairwell at the end of the corridor. Bang, bang, bang. Someone opened fire in the thick smoke, and a few bullets hit the wall of the stairwell. Go, someone yelled. Bang, bang, bang. There were a few more gunshots, and then there was the sound of hurried footsteps coming from the direction of the corridor. Charlotte had already rushed out of the stairwell. He stopped at the anti-theft door and then used his foot to close it. Huff, huff. Peaceful's breathing was rapid, and her chest rose and fell violently. This was a reaction to the toxic gas in her respiratory tract. She was in bad shape, and she needed emergency treatment. Xiaolei rushed to the edge of the rooftop as fast as he could. What he hoped for the most right now was for Yukino Anko to climb back up again after she lost contact with him. Bang, bang, bang. There were a lot of gunshots, and the metal anti-theft door made a deafening noise. Holes appeared in the metal door. Boom! Someone fired a shot with a shotgun. The lock on the anti-theft door was blown open, and someone kicked the anti-theft door open. The first person to rush to the rooftop was the person with the shotgun, but he was also the first to die. He had just rushed out of the anti-theft door, and before his feet could stabilize, a bullet flew from Charlotte's direction. It accurately went into his head. Bang, bang, bang. Charlotte held Peaceful in one hand and fired at the stairwell with his gun in the other. His bullets immediately suppressed the person who was about to rush out of the stairwell. He's Xiaolei. A man's voice was filled with excitement and agitation. Catch him for me. He only has one gun. Rush out, someone shouted. Charlotte was anxious. He only had one gun, and he could not hold on for long. What was worse was that Serenity was in desperate need of emergency treatment. Every second that was delayed would make her condition worse. What made him despair was that what he hoped to see did not happen. Akiko Tsukino did not climb up from the rooftop. She might have retreated from the alley and then attacked the building from the front door with the other members of the Zodiac team. This was the last thing he wanted to see because he did not have the time to wait for the other members of the Zodiac team to come and support him. Another gunman rushed out from behind the anti-theft door. Charlotte moved his gun slightly, and a bullet flew out. It hit the gunman's head, and it was a headshot. His marksmanship was so accurate that it scared him. As he adjusted his gun to kill the gunman, a submachine gun poked out from the side of the door. Xiaolei fell to the ground, and Peaceful fell heavily on the concrete floor of the rooftop. That's right. Da-da-da. A hail of bullets grazed past Xiaolei's back. Charge! Someone roared. Two gunmen suddenly rushed out from behind the anti-theft door. As they ran, they fired in Charlotte's direction. The two gunmen were using submachine guns that fired extremely fast, and the dense barrage of bullets immediately suppressed Xiaolei to the point where he could not even lift his head. Just a second after he was suppressed by the enemy's firepower, another two gunmen rushed out from behind the anti-theft door. These people were more skilled than the elite special forces, and their tactical coordination was impeccable. Obviously, they were the elite samurai of the Hattori family. Swoosh! Swoosh! Two rays of cold light suddenly flew past Xiaolei's back. They were two ninjas' special shurikens. The cold lights flashed, and one missed, while the other hit its target. The last gunman who rushed out of the door was stabbed in the chest by the shurikens. He did not even have the chance to make a sound before he fell to the ground. Reflexively, his finger pulled the trigger. The bullets did not hit Charlotte, but they accidentally hit one of his teammates next to him. Although the unlucky guy avoided the shurikens, he did not avoid his teammate's hidden shot. He was shot in the back, and he fell to the ground. One was not afraid of meeting a godlike opponent, but one was afraid of meeting a pig-like teammate. That was a very practical saying in the world of gunmen. The pressure on Charlotte was greatly reduced. While the enemy was panicking, he fired two shots, and the remaining two people fell to the ground. Charlotte turned around and saw Akiko Tsukino. She was the one who had helped him. Akiko Tsukino jumped from the edge of the rooftop. Her waist was still tied with the rope that had been cut. What happened? Akiko Tsukino's eyes were locked on the open anti-theft door, but no one was coming out. "Let's get out of here first." Charlotte's left eye moved, and he said, "There's another person hiding behind the door, but their backup is almost here. Hurry up and connect the rope. We don't have much time." Akiko Tsukino connected the rope and said, "Don't worry. Our people are in position." She pointed at a building on the side. Engumi-kan and Sayamu have found a sniping spot there. Alessio and Erdamu will attack from the front of the building. We can actually go back and kill the deputy family. 2 snipers, 2 ambushers at the main entrance downstairs, and himself and Anako Tsukino on the ground floor. A 3-pronged attack. This was indeed a good opportunity to kill off the Hattori family. But Charlotte could not make that decision because Peaceful did not have much time. Chapter 8:18. Retreat. Charlotte made the decision. Why? Akiko Tsukino looked at Charlotte with shock. Charlotte pointed at Peaceful, who was curled up on the ground. "She can't hold on much longer. My communicator is broken. Contact Alessio and Erdamu immediately. Tell them to give up on the attack and help us retreat. Also, tell Engumi-kan and Sayamu to seal off the rooftops exit. No matter who comes out, kill them immediately." "Okay, you go first. I'll cover you," Akiko Tsukino said. She pulled out her Viper pistol and aimed at the staircase that led to the rooftop. Charlotte picked Peaceful up and put her on his shoulder. He held her waist tightly with one hand and used his other hand to grab the rope and slide down to the ground. His feet twisted the rope to reduce the friction of the rope and the weight of the two of them. When he was halfway down the building, a gunshot came from above him. The Hattori family had attacked Akiko Tsukino. "Ah!" A scream resounded through the night sky amidst the gunshots. It was a man's voice. Charlotte used both his hands and feet to speed up his descent. His feet had just touched the ground of the alley when a person quickly slid down from above him. Akiko Tsukino slid down the rope like she was flying. She grabbed the rope with one hand, and her feet ran along the outer wall of the building. It felt like she could fall at any moment, but she ran steadily. In a few seconds, my Hattori slid down from the rooftop to the ground. "Be careful." Charlotte suddenly pushed Akiko Tsukino's chest. Akiko Tsukino took 3 steps back. Boom! A corpse suddenly fell from the rooftop and smashed onto the ground. Half of his head had already been blown off by a sniper rifle bullet on the rooftop, and when it smashed against the hard concrete floor, the remaining half of his head exploded like a watermelon, leaving only half of his scalp. Even Charlotte, who had killed countless people, could not help but retch at such a scene. Only then did Akiko Tsukino return to her senses. She couldn't help but raise her head to take a look. She couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. She knew very well that if Charlotte had not pushed her, a corpse falling from a 30-story building would have been enough to take her life. "Go!" Charlotte put Peaceful down from his shoulder and held her in his arms. Then, he ran toward the exit of the alley. Akiko Tsukino followed closely behind. She didn't know why, but she was still thinking about Charlotte's push just now. An ear-piercing siren could be heard from afar. He did not know if it was the New Delhi Police or the Fire Brigade. But regardless of whether it was the New Delhi Police or the Fire Brigade, the mess in the building would take them a while to clean up. In the blink of an eye, they were near the exit of the alley, but Charlotte suddenly stopped. Just as he stopped, Akiko Tsukino seemed to have sensed the approaching danger, so she quickly stopped. At the same time, she and Charlotte stuck to the wall, using an electric pole by the wall to cover their bodies. "Charlotte, you can't escape," someone shouted in Japanese. Footsteps came from the exit of the alley, and shadows moved. Charlotte's left eye twitched. 3 on the left, 2 on the right. "Surrender. Someone wants to see you," someone shouted. Charlotte said in a low voice, "Akiko, didn't you inform Alessio and Erdamu? They should be here to meet us." "I don't know. I already informed them." Akiko Tsukino was also very anxious. The other side only blocked the exit, but did not attack. Even if she and Charlotte's marksmanship was godlike, they could not do anything to the other side. The power of the Viper simply could not penetrate the wall and hit the target. The police are coming. You don't have much time. Someone shouted at the entrance of the alley. Charlotte also said in Japanese, "The guy from the Belly family wants to catch me, but he doesn't dare to show up. Is he afraid of me? You are just like a turtle. Is my Hattori coming too? Let me tell you, she is really good in bed. No man would be able to stand it." However, Hattori Tsukihito could endure it. He did not show up, and he was not among the 5 people who blocked the exit of the alley. But even if he didn't see Hattori Tsukihito's figure, and even if he wasn't clear about his status in the clan, Xiaolei could still guess that he was nearby. The Hattori family came here late at night, bringing so many elite family samurai, and they even brought heavy weapons. How could such a lineup not have a leader? Hattori did not know how Hattori Tsukino felt when he heard such insulting words, but Akiko Tsukino, who was beside Charlotte, frowned. "That kid from the Belly family, you are really a turtle. Do you know my Hattori kneels in front of me like a bitch, haha." Charlotte scolded again. "Baka." Such curses did not provoke Hattori Tsukino, but it provoked a Hattori family samurai. He suddenly revealed half of his body from behind the wall of the alley and fired at Charlotte and Akiko, Tsukino's hiding place. Bang bang. 2 gunshots sounded almost at the same time. One bullet hit an electric pole, and sparks flew everywhere. The other bullet hit a person's head, and blood splattered everywhere. There were always fools who did not believe that this was a provocation and Charlotte's marksmanship. The sirens were getting closer and closer. "Charlotte, you can't escape," someone shouted. But at this moment, a Ford road blocker suddenly appeared on the road opposite the alley. With a clean drift, the trunk door sprang up, and a gunman lying in the trunk suddenly fired 2 Gale assault rifles at the Hattori family samurai on both sides of the alley. The 4 Hattori family samurai were all focused on Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino in the alley, so they did not pay attention to the situation on the road. In that 1 second of delay, the 4 of them were knocked to the ground in the blink of an eye. The gunman put away his gun and shouted into the alley, "Hurry up." He was Alessio, the most savage attacker in the Zodiac team. Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino rushed out of the alley. My Hattori was holding a gun in the direction of the building's entrance, covering Charlotte. After all, he was holding a woman in his arms, so he could not fight while he was running. 2 gunmen suddenly rushed out of the building's entrance. Before Alessio and Akiko Tsukino could fire a shot, the 2 gunmen fell to the ground at the same time. The way they died was the same. Half of their heads had been blown off by a sniper rifle bullet, and they had died a very simple death. No one dared to rush out of the building, unless they wanted to dance with the Grim Reaper. Xiaolei rushed to the Ford Roadshaker's trunk. He picked up Peaceful and placed her inside. Then he climbed inside. My Hattori sprinted forward, and when Charlotte got in, she got into the trunk. Erdamu put the gear in gear, and the Ford Road blocker sprinted forward. Alessio reached out and pulled down the trunk door. Just as the door was about to close, Charlotte's left eye caught a reflection on a pillar. The pillar had a copper plate on it, and it was shiny. The reflection that was cast on the pillar by the light was the reflection of a man and a woman. He was familiar with both of them. One of them was my Hattori, the leader of the Hattori family that had escaped from the Tavong Snow Mountain. She was the young man in the monk's robe. The door closed, and Charlotte looked away. "Contact Angumi-kan immediately," Charlotte said. "I need a doctor." Alessio used his communicator to say, "Monkey, boss needs a doctor. Arrange it now." Angumi-kan's voice came from the communicator. "I will arrange it now. You guys go back to a safe place. Rabbit and I will be there soon." After the call ended, Alessio asked with concern, "Boss, are you hurt?" Charlotte shook his head. "It's her. She needs a doctor." Alessio's eyes moved to Peaceful, but before he could look at her, Charlotte put his jacket over her body. Then, Charlotte held Peaceful in his arms, using his body to warm her up. Luckily, the Ford road blocker was big enough, and the sofa in the 3rd row had been laid flat. It gave him enough space to do that, and it made Peaceful feel more comfortable. Peaceful still showed no signs of waking up. Her breathing was weak, as if it would stop at any moment. Charlotte sighed, and his eyes moved to the back window. Unfortunately, The car had already turned the corner, and he could no longer see the young man and my Hattori's projection. In a lobby of the headquarters of Strong Biotechnology. Okay, we can leave now, Hattori said. My Hattori quickly walked towards the entrance of the main hall. If you hadn't insisted on going to Ha-Er's house first, I would have been able to capture Charlotte. Hattori was not convinced. This was not something he had said casually. If he had been able to block Charlotte in the lab before the explosion, even if he couldn't capture Charlotte, he could have killed Charlotte. My Hattori laughed coldly. My little brother, you still have a nerve to push the blame on me? Just now, our people blocked Charlotte and that woman in the alley. Charlotte told you to go, but you didn't even dare show your head. Tell me, can I still believe you? You? Hattori clenched his fists, but he didn't dare hit my Hattori. Walking out of the lobby, a long line of police cars and fire trucks came. The sirens were shrill, and the lights were flashing. It was a big scene. Hattori quickly walked down the stairs and walked toward the Toyota Land Cruiser parked by the roadside. My Hattori didn't follow him, but stopped. What are you doing? Hattori glared at my Hattori. My Hattori didn't even look at Hattori. She took out a mobile phone, dialed a number, and said in a sweet voice, Mr. Barhard, I heard that you've recently been transferred to the police system. Congratulations. You really recognize my voice. Yes, I'm by Leah. I represent Ms. Forson to say hello to you. Well, okay. We'll talk when we meet. I prepared a bottle of 89 Lafite for you. I hope you like it. After ending the call, she walked towards the Toyota Land Cruiser and said calmly, Take me to Mr. Barhard's house. We need some help. Hattori's lips moved, but he held it in. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.